Good evening, everyone. I'm Leslie David. I'm with BenitoLink. I'm the executive director of BenitoLink. And we are thrilled to see this crowd tonight and see so many people interested in their election. Thank you so much for coming. I have the Farm Bureau to thank. They invited BenitoLink in to work on the election forums several years ago. And it's been a great experience working with them. Our goal was to have a fair opportunity for people to come hear who they were going to vote for and have it be sort of an unbiased evening where you had a chance to just listen to who was there. So they've been great partners for us, and I thank them very much. We have sponsors for the election forums this year. It's the first time we've done that, and we have the Community Foundation for San Benito County as a sponsor. We have SBC Eye Care, and we have Benito Valley Farms, and those businesses helped us pay for this evening. BenitoLink was able to do a lot more reporting this year prior to, and we were able to talk to every candidate and cover every measure, which was very important to us to do prior to tonight. And so we have those people to thank for that. And we also will have videos. We're working with CMAP TV as partners, and we will have short video clips on BenitoLink starting next week where you can just watch the race you want to watch and the measure you want to watch instead of the whole maybe 3 hours tonight. Anyway, so just warning you. And I also just want to make a quick note that we had a lot of public comments this time around a lot of questions that were sent in to us. They were sent in by email, they were sent in by letter, we got phone calls, and it's growing. We're getting that community response that we really appreciate, and I think we'll make better and better forums as we go along. So thank you everyone who sent in questions. I'm going to introduce Angela Curro. And she is with the elections office. She is assistant county clerk, and she's just going to give a few, some information on the elections. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm really short, so I have to move the mic way down. I'm going to try and do this where I talk to you and I talk to the camera, so this is going to go a little interesting, but I will try. If you have any questions after this presentation, please know I have PowerPoints copied out there and my business card. You can call our office, ask any questions. You can come in, see what we're doing, and if anything comes up, we can explain our process, okay? So this is going to go real fast because you guys have got a lot to do tonight. Okay, so the ballot is new. We're on a new voting system. You will notice that now you fill in a oval, black or blue pen. This is now to the left of the candidate's name that you're choosing. There are so many candidates on the ballot, you need to make sure that you look to see if there are 2 columns. Many offices appear in 2 columns, the office of governor, U.S. Senate, and I believe that's it for 2 columns. Everything else is a vote, everything is a vote for 1. So make sure when you're voting, you're only voting for 1. Even if it appears in 2 columns, it's only a vote for 1. With that, I'm going to go back for a sec. There are 2 cards, Card A and Card B. When you have Card A and Card B, you have an official ballot. Card A by itself and Card B by itself, you know, are individuals, but together they're the single ballot. With our new voting system, we have new ballot marking devices at the polls and at our office. This is available for any voter that needs assistance in marking the ballot. It is not a ballot recording device. It does no longer record any votes in the machine. It only marks the ballot, prints it so it can go into the ballot box. If you haven't seen this symbol on your mail before, this is the symbol that comes on your official voting material from our office. This is how you know it is not campaign mail. This is how you know it's also not junk mail. This is official mail from us, and it has official information in there, so please don't discard it. The state pamphlet comes from the Secretary of State's office. It will look like this. You'll start receiving it over the next few weeks. The front is colored, the back is not, but you'll notice they have the symbol too. That's how you know it's official mail. The state propositions, the full text, are not in the guide itself. If you'd like the full text of the guide, you can get that either at our office or on the website or through the state. Historically, the San Benito County mailings come in two mailings, a sample ballot and a vote by mail kit. What we've done is we've combined those into one single kit. This is what the new kit looks like. It went from 50,000 mailings to only 30,000 mailings, and with the savings, we have a surprise. You don't get to know yet. Okay, so I brought the physical sample so you could see it, and you can see it on the screen. This is what you're going to receive. You're only receiving one mailing from our office. If you have any questions about not receiving it or questions about the kit when you get it, let us know. When you get the kit, it's going to be a vote by mail. It'll have instructions in English and in Spanish. It'll have your voter information guide, which used to be your sample ballot. It'll have the 2 cards. It'll have a return envelope that's bilingual. And now it'll have an I voted by mail sticker for all our vote by mail voters. So if you were feeling left out, you aren't left out anymore. Okay, so here's the new stuff. The polling place voter kit looks almost exactly the same as the vote by mail kit. The difference is it has a facsimile sample ballot in it, and it's purple. Your polling place location is on the back of the insert, which is inside the kit. It is no longer printed on the back. It's on the inside of the kit, so you have to go into that kit, look at the insert, and it tells you where your polling place is. You have the option to vote by mail. We're required to send you an application to vote by mail, and what we've done is we've combined that application with the return envelope, which allows you, if you complete the official envelope, and you convert the sample ballot to a vote by mail by removing the stub from the ballot, then you can vote that sample ballot, return it in the official envelope, and only together it becomes a vote by mail. If you have questions about that, I can answer that. Call me at the office. One of the cool things about this is because of the savings of combining this, we can pay everybody's postage, so nobody puts postage on their ballots coming back. You do not have to guess 1 or 2 stamps. It's all paid for. Yay. Yay. Sorry, I was really excited about that. I thought I'd get a bigger. Also, you'll have an I voted inside sticker. There are 3 simple ways to return your ballot. You can either drop it in the drop box. If you don't know, it's between our office, the old courthouse, and the library. It's called Wynn Alley. Thank you, city, for putting the new sign up so it's labeled. You can also drop it off at any polling or our election office or any mailbox or any polling place now in the state of California. It does not have to be returned in San Benito County. That's a new law that passed. If you haven't seen our drop box, you're under 24-hour surveillance. When you drive down that alley, wave at us because we watch. We watch everybody, and they do, and the kids wave at us, and we get some other gestures, but yeah. So with that, feel free. That's open 24 hours a day. That's going to start on Monday, May 7th. That's when these kits are being dropped at the San Jose Post Office. They are en route on trucks right now from our printer. They will be dropped at the San Jose Post Office. They'll be mailed next week. I'm working with the postmaster, who has been wonderful, and his team is awesome, to make sure these get out right away. Early voting starts Monday, so either you can wait for your kit, but if you can't wait for your kit, you can come into my office and you can vote in person. Also, our office hours are 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, except holidays, and Saturday and Sunday, the weekend before the election. We're open from 9 to 3. So if somebody comes in and they're new to the county, tell them to come into our office because you can register and vote that same day. Election day, office is open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. for voting, and so are the polls. That's it. I said I'd do it really fast. So if you have questions, call us. I'm done.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mindy Sotelo. I'm being called. We have an amazing crowd here tonight, and so I think there's a problem because there's so many people. So I will head to the back in 1 second after I give. So we can get the thing started. It's going to be a long evening, and so I just want to forewarn you. We're looking at about 3 total hours. There's about 27 candidates in total. So if at any time you feel the need to leave, please feel free, just exit quietly. But we absolutely understand if you kind of have heard the races that you want or it's just been too long of an evening, feel free to leave. So now with the order of the forum, Due to a family emergency, we are going to start with District 3 Supervisor. Then we're going to move into the measures A, B, and C. Measure C has an opposition and support campaign, so you'll hear from both of those campaigns. Then we will move into Assembly District 30, County Supervisor District 4, Sheriff, Treasurer, Superior Court Judge number 2, and we will close the night with Senate District 12. For the order of the candidates, we used a research randomizer to provide a random order for opening statements, questions, and closing statements. Each candidate is going to be given a 30-second opening statement, 3 questions with a 90-second response time, and a 1-minute closing statement. The MC is going to read each question aloud once. Then they will prompt the next candidate by announcing them by name. We will not be repeating the questions this year. The candidates and the audience can view the questions on the screens, both in front of you and behind for the candidates. The timekeeper will be flashing the light when you have 15 seconds. This little yellow light will flash, and a red light will glare when it's time to stop. It will start to beep too, so you will be stopped at the red. We want to remind you, you don't have to use all your time. If you can say it and you're done and you finish early, please don't feel the need to keep talking. Okay, so the last thing I need to say is our selection of questions, which Leslie kind of went into a little bit. Public was asked to submit questions to both BenitoLink and Farm Bureau for consideration. We spent many hours vetting, developing, and selecting from representatives from both BenitoLink and Farm Bureau. The candidates have not seen the questions tonight. They still have not seen them to this point. They'll be surprised when they get up there. Farm Bureau and BenitoLink do not endorse candidates. And at the end of the evening, we would really appreciate your feedback with the survey. And so if you can please turn those in, we would really appreciate it. Our moderators this evening are Erin Tilley and Elizabeth Zepeda. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over.
Well, I guess we could have at this time, we could have the County Supervisor District 3 candidates come up, please. So we will start first with the opening statements from each candidate. First one will be Richard Perez.
Hello. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. My name is Richard Perez. A little bit about myself. I'm a retired telecommunications specialist, and I have over 20 years in the public and private sector working in that position. If elected, I hope to bring much needed change to San Benito County through innovative job creation and much needed infrastructure, which is well overdue. Thank you.
Next we'll have Patricia Lowe.
Good evening. I'm Patricia Lowe, and I'm candidate for District 3 Supervisor. From 2003 to 2010, you can't hear me? No. Is that better?
You got to press the button.
Press the button. Oh. Good evening. I'll try again. I'm Pat Lowe, and I'm a candidate for District 3 Supervisor. From 2003 to 2010, it was my pleasure to serve as a supervisor of District 3. I've been a county planning commissioner for 15 years, and I was also the first woman mayor and the first woman elected in the city of Hollister to serve on the city council. Thank you.
Peter.
Hello and thank you to the Farm Bureau, to BenitoLink, and to all those in attendance tonight. My name is Peter Hernandez. I'm running for San Benito County Board of Supervisors District 3. I'm a downtown business owner. I'm a father of 3 and husband to my beautiful wife, Karina. I'm running for Board of Supervisors because I believe we need to have a vision, not only for our roads, but definitely for our growth and ultimately to benefit the outcomes of all residents in San Benito County. My name is Peter Hernandez, and I'm running for San Benito County Board of Supervisors District 3, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, guys. At this time, we'll start with question 1. What is your vision of San Benito County in 20 years, and what 3 things would you do to get us there? And we'll start first with Richard Perez.
My vision for San Benito County is one of progress. I think we need to have an open dialogue about what growth means to everyone And I think we need to embrace growth because it is something that is coming, unfortunately. With the price of homes in the Bay Area, people are moving south because of affordability. So in 20 years, I hope to have our strategic plan be implemented and be utilized to the best of its ability so that we're not facing the same problems that we are today. Transportation is one of them. Job creation is another one. And also affordable housing. I think it's important to residents that live here be able to afford to live here for their children and their grandchildren and not be pushed out by an increasing job market.
Thank you. Peter Hernandez, next.
So my vision of, I love that question actually. Thank you. I'm a downtown business owner, and when we started our business 3 years ago, it was literally about a vision. And the beauty of that is ultimately figuring out what we want, what the goal was with the product that we were about to serve to our customers. We're the owners of a Honda Shave Ice in downtown Hollister. And the amazing part about it is, especially because as a business owner, you have your own skin in the game, your goal is to figure out how you provide the best service, ultimately the best product and quality. And my point is, when it comes down to a vision in San Benito County, we have to look at what we want, and then we have to figure out how to vet, basically vetting the whole process and making sure that what we're gonna do is the outcomes is exactly what we expect. So when it comes to our community, we have to look at every layer. We can't just look at housing. I know housing has been a big issue. I know that, I love the fact that I bought my house after 2008. So I'm not anti-growth, but growth in the way that's smarter and better for the rest of our community, that we're making choices that ultimately have a scalability to where the rest of our community benefits from a strong infrastructure, a strong, vibrant downtown, business development for the rest of our community, and even tourism. There's a lot to our backyard, which I love. And I love the idea that we're gonna have our own identity as a community, and we're not gonna be an extension of Santa Clara County. Not that I don't love that we work there, but obviously there's a lot of issues with that. We have to be very innovative in the way that we approach growth. We can't just pick on one, ultimately find the low-hanging fruit and make a decision based off of that.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Patricia Lowe?
Yes. My vision for San Benito County in 20 years would be that we have a thriving job market. We have great schools for our children. We have a thriving downtown. We have parks, we have recreation, we have all the positive things that this county deserves. The people that live here love this county, I'm sure, as much as I do. And I just think moving forward, we can make this the best place to live. We can attract new business, we can attract good employers that pay a decent wage. We're kind of a jewel in the rough, the way I see it. And I think that we're going to be discovered. I think that it's positive the way we're growing. I do think that we need to look at fixing our highways. If our roads need to be brought up to date, Highway 25 needs to be widened. We have infrastructure problems that we need to address right now. But once we get those things behind us, and I believe we will, because I believe the people in San Benito County will, one, demand it, and two, help pay for it. So I just really think that the best is yet to come.
Thank you, Patricia. So now we'll move on to question 2. How do you intend to address road repair, maintenance, and traffic congestion in San Benito County? And we'll start with you, Patricia Lowe.
Thank you. I really believe that we're probably going to have to pass a sales tax initiative at some time. I believe that we are going to have to work with Santa Clara County. Widening Highway 25 obviously will include them as a partner, but we have to do it. We have to bring our roads up to date. The roads are in terrible condition. I believe that they're rated 29 out of 100 points by the Road Index Monitor. And I believe that we can't do it. Government can't do this alone. I'm sorry to say that. I wish we could. But I worked very hard for Measure A. And can you imagine Measure A, when that passed, it was to take the trucks out of downtown. If you look at the trucks on Highway 156 now, if we wouldn't have passed Measure A, we would have that truck traffic coming down San Benito Street and turning at 4th Street. Can you imagine what a nightmare our town would be? So this is progress, and we have to move forward. And I really believe that we can do that, but I do believe that we'll need a sales tax initiative to do it. I don't see how government in itself can pay for it.
Thank you, Patricia. Next candidate, Richard Perez.
The most important thing right now is Highway 25. And being a part of the Transportation Committee that just met last week, there is a proposal to help widen 25. But as Patricia said, we have to collaborate with Santa Clara County. They own part of this infrastructure that needs to be repaired. But I think it's important that we think outside the box. I think we have to come up with solutions like a rail system that would help move people in and out of Hollister. We don't necessarily need more cars. I think what we need is a better idea of how to move people from our community into other places. But job creation is another alternative, so that we don't have people on 25 at 4 o'clock in the morning. It just doesn't make sense. I think a lot of people are frustrated, and when they get home, they are really holding their public officials to task, and I think that's why we need to have a change. I think it's important that we get new ideas and start to really look at some alternatives to making 25 wider, but also what are we gonna do about the potholes in the city? So it has been proposed that there is a tax initiative on the board, but I think what we need to do is be fiscally responsible so that we're not putting this money into the general fund, that it's earmarked for repairs and not going towards whatever causes may be coming up next. That is one of the reasons why I'm running for supervisor, is I think transparency and accountability are important aspects to any position when you hold it in leadership.
Thank you, Richard. Sorry to cut you off.
My pleasure.
All right, Peter Hernandez, please.
So when it comes to our roads, obviously, I kind of consider it almost like my business, right? There's traffic. I need to figure out ways how to have better opportunities for my customers to get what they want, which is, hopefully it's one of my products, obviously. So when it comes down to the roads, the 1% sales tax would be a good idea as a temporary measure, but we have to get innovative is what it comes down to. And as a board member, one of our things is not just dealing with the agenda that's presented to us, obviously, with all the professionals that we have guiding us and directing us, but we also have to make sure that we're directing the conversation to make sure these answers get solved. So when it comes to the different layers of what our community needs, one of the examples that I believe would be awesome when I mean innovative is like the TEL Center. I actually visited the TEL Center with the mayor and with other city officials, we as a school district trustee. And the whole idea with the TEL Center is there's multifaceted. It actually presents itself as obviously a classroom for our college kids. It's modern technology, so the TEL Center, the acronym basically means Technology Education Library. So it becomes a library to our community. It also becomes a work share space. And there's also an opportunity for maybe even conference rooms for our local companies as work share, that you'd have a lot of companies maybe looking at keeping their employees locally, and at that point you're taking those individuals off the road. So you have to scale it and layer it to the extent that it's going to benefit our community.
Thank you, Peter. So the next set of questions here will be individual questions for each candidate. We'll start with you, Peter Hernandez. This question is, in a recent interview, you discussed creating an identity for the county. Can you elaborate, and how does this rank in your priorities?
It's number one. It's a vision. Basically what it comes down to is, what do we want to see in our community? What's going to be the biggest thing that we love to see in our community that we either don't have or we do have and we want to protect? I know when it comes to San Benito County as a whole, it's a large county. We have a lot of open land, which kind of puts in a position for developers and different people to obviously put a stake in it. But we have to be the ones that guide those decisions so that we make sure that we don't just allow any kind of development, that we're protecting our beautiful national park. We're protecting our wine trail. I, as a shop owner, like I mentioned, I get traffic a lot, and I actually get tourist traffic, which is amazing. And I could tell you a lot of stories about customers that say, I love your shop, it's very unique, it's different, and because of that, I want to come visit. For the for them to basically come off the beaten path 14 miles in, wanting to come visit my shop, that says there's a possibility to get those customers to come into our community and spend their dollars here, but then they end up obviously going back home, which is a low impact, high benefit to our community. As a business owner, you have to get innovative. You have to be profitable. You have to make decisions that tightens your margins and gives you the most efficient process. And when it comes to a community as a vision, we definitely need to consider how to be efficient, how to make better decisions when it comes to our growth, how to ultimately draw in families that are focused on even bringing their kids to our schools, and because of academics being an excellent part of our school district, of our community.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
The next question will be for Richard Perez. In a recent interview, you mentioned collaborative leadership. Can you explain the term and identify how you would implement it?
Certainly. Collaboration should be the hallmark of any leader. I recently just attended the California Workforce Association conference in San Diego. And through that networking, I've established some viable solutions that we can implement here to help train our workforce to embrace those 21st century jobs. What we would really like in this county is that we don't have to go to Santa Clara County for these jobs. So my vision for the future of job creation is to help bring those jobs here that are right now in Santa Clara County. But we have to have infrastructure, and we have to be able to collaborate with one another and not be stuck, as politics as usual, and come up with solutions and be able to train our workforce so that we are not on Highway 25 all the time. So collaboration should be a hallmark that's used by leaders throughout the county and throughout the city. And so my vision for collaboration is to establish those networks and be able to work with other people and other entities to help create jobs and facilitate post-secondary education for our youngsters. I think it's important. I think we need to embrace the 21st century jobs, and we need to explore all avenues of every possible telecommuting position that is available. We don't want to be just stuck on Highway 25.
Thank you, Richard. Next one for Patricia Lowe. San Benito County has historically been listed as one of the most economically stressed counties in the state. If elected, what are your plans to address the need for more jobs and commerce in San Benito County?
I believe the answer is basically to our north. I believe that we have to start meeting with business leaders in the Silicon Valley and talk to them about bringing satellite maybe jobs into our community or startups. There's got to be startup companies up there that would love to come to a place like San Benito County. And the industrial areas up there, it's $15 a square foot to rent. We can certainly rent those businesses, rent places to those businesses much cheaper. We have a viable workforce now. For many years, we were told that businesses couldn't locate here because of our workforce. That's definitely changed. We have the workforce commuting out of here every day. Could you imagine if we had jobs for those people in San Benito County? It would take care of a big portion of the problem on Highway 25 that we face right now. I really believe that our county, as I said earlier, is a jewel in the rough. I believe we can move forward in a positive manner, and I believe that anybody living in Santa Clara County that would come down here would much rather be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. At this time, we'll start with the closing statements from each candidate. We will start first with Patricia Lowe.
Thank you. Tonight, my thoughts are about the future of this community. The county has over 9,000 new homes proposed or already approved. Over 2,200 have been approved. If I'm elected, I will immediately start working with my fellow supervisors and staff to impose a growth management ordinance. I am not talking about a moratorium. I am talking about an ordinance that will allow for orderly growth. We need to be able to provide adequate services for the people that live here today. A growth management ordinance is only a small step, but it is a start. We must repair the roads and replace our outdated streets. We must widen Highway 25. Our library is inadequate. We need a new library. We need to start working with business leaders in Santa Clara County. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Next candidate will be Richard Perez.
My drive to serve San Benito County and ensure that all residents prosper is at the core of everything I do. Collaborating, networking with leaders, both business and public sector, is key to unlocking a better future for our residents. For far too long, our leaders have overlooked opportunities to build a stronger local economy in favor of aggressive politics. If elected, I will lead us into a future built on strategic growth, better transportation, improved infrastructure, and a desperately needed increase in housing that is affordable. With a new vision, I hope to construct a comprehensive strategic plan for our community, forge a path forward with progress, and all too often, our community has suffered for lack of leadership that has worn down the public trust. As a county supervisor, accountability, transparency, and the public input, which is most important, will be hallmarks within my tenure.
Thank you, Richard. Next, Peter Hernandez.
So my biggest game plan is literally starting with the vision. So like I've mentioned before, as a business owner, it's in my vested interest to pay attention to my customer. And I think to a certain extent, we devalue what that means. I have to pay attention to the needs of my customer. Because of that, I start to learn what basically the problem they have and how I am there to facilitate to solve it. When it comes to us as a community, customer service should be our biggest focus. That means engaging with the people and understand what it is the problem that we have as a community. And you literally, there's a lot of wisdom to that, to listening to the people that you're serving, because at that point you're getting a lot of awesome feedback. It's funny because we get into places, especially in government, where we pay a whole lot of money for surveys, which is really to the extent as a business owner, it's like, yes, our goal is to understand what it is to serve our customer, and we find ourselves basically understanding how to better serve them. So my job would be is to focus on making sure that we have a better service for our community, customer service.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to each of you candidates. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Representing San Benito County Board of Supervisors, Anthony Botello, Supervisor District 2, on measures A, B, and C were written and put into ballot by the county supervisors.
Okay. Thank you, and good evening, everyone. I'm Anthony Botello, Chairman of the Board of Supervisors. First, I want to thank the San Benito County Farm Bureau and BenitoLink for hosting this event and allowing the county to provide information about the tax measures A, B, and C for the June ballot. These measures are very important for providing needed services and enhance the quality of life in our community. Let me begin with Measure A. This is a vehicle abatement tax. It is a charge of $1 on registration fees for each car per year. And some commercial vehicles will be charged $2. This is a special tax and needs approval by 66%. Most counties are currently enjoying this revenue to clean up abandoned vehicles that are a nuisance and can be a public safety issue in our neighborhoods. Since 1991, the county has abated over 6,000 vehicles that have been abandoned on private and public land. At this time, vehicle abatement is a heavy burden and funded by the county's general fund. Our cost to provide this service is roughly the anticipated revenue of $50,000 to $55,000 annually. Passing this tax will free up current general fund expenditures on vehicle abatement for other important citizens' priorities, such as public safety, roads, library, and parks and recreation. Measure B is an increase of the current transient occupancy tax, or the TOT, from 8% to 12% that will affect our out-of-county visitors. The new rate of 12% would be in line to most areas in California. Our visitors do have an impact on our public safety and roads, and that should be addressed by these revenues that would go into the general fund. Also, the Board of Supervisors has been criticized in the past for underfunding economic development, and this increase in revenue in part may address this issue in the future. The proposed increase to 12% for the current lodging facilities will increase county revenue between $50,000 to $55,000 above the current $100,000. The county does not believe the increase will have an adverse impact in lodging. Raising this rate now can be a real positive to the entire county, as there are plans for additional commercial development along the 101 corridor and elsewhere. Measure C, which taxes the cannabis industry, is clearly the most complicated and detailed tax measure that the county is putting forward this June. I encourage everyone to read this measure, as I will not have time this evening to go into specifics. Basically, the cannabis business activities tax is intended to offset the impacts of the cannabis businesses in the county. If cannabis activities are allowed, there will be impacts on code enforcement, law enforcement, healthcare, and education, which are operated out of the county's general fund. There are important points I do want to make. First, the tax applies only to the unincorporated areas of the county and is a general tax. Just a majority needs to pass this tax. Second, the tax rate is not a fixed tax, but a range of flexibility, which will be set by ordinance by the Board of Supervisors, which will be formulated and approved for commercial purposes should the industry be approved. This does not allow cannabis activities, just the tax to be collected once the activities ordinance is passed by the board. The possible revenue, once allowed though, could be substantial. If 25 acres were approved for production in the county, which was the total amortization acreage for production last year, for example, at the lowest tax rate within the measure, would generate an estimated $3.3 million. If the measure fails, it is doubtful the board will move forward with a growing or manufacturing ordinance. A taxing authority needs to be approved by the voters first. In closing, keep in mind that San Benito County has one of the lowest tax returns on property tax dollars in the state because of Proposition 13. Our neighboring counties receive more than twice the amount with their tax dollars based on assessed values to operate general government. I am proud of this county to what has we've been able to accomplish in way of services. And it's done by a very dedicated and committed group of public servants. And with the lack of revenue even. But we do have challenges. Our roads are in a crisis. There is a definite need for more public safety dollars and an improvement to our parks. And this money would also help in hiring competent staff in key positions and retain them with competitive salaries and benefits. These three tax measures will not solve our shortfall or problems completely, but will contribute to a better quality of services that we all expect from local government. If anyone has any questions on these three measures, please feel free to give me a call at 831-801-8246. And we encourage everybody to go out, do their research on these three measures, and vote. Thank you very much. Do I have questions?
Thank you, Anthony. At this point, in regards to Measure C, I'd like to call up Victor Gomez and Jack Kirk. Each speaker will have 2 minutes. We're going to start off with Victor Gomez, who's going to speak in support.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the Farm Bureau and to BenitoLink for this opportunity. My name is Victor Gomez, along with Marley Smith, are running the campaign in support of this tax measure. In March, the San Benito County Board of Supervisors unanimously voted to place Measure C on the ballot. Measure C would tax any cannabis operation in the unincorporated areas of the county. Projected revenues from this measure could add up to anywhere between $5 million or more than even $10 million. If you take the maximum rate of $17 per square foot and you have 25 acres, that would actually equal, in cultivation alone, nearly $20 million in revenue for the county. Those funds could be used for paving or repaving county roads that are in dire need of repair and can add numerous more deputies to a dwindling sheriff's department, an area of much concern to rural county residents who at times have a deputy more than an hour away from their homes in times of emergencies. In addition, much of the county remains in need of more fire services that this measure can help address. The opponents of this measure say that this measure would open the floodgates of cannabis activity in our county, when the truth is this measure does not implement any regulatory framework on cannabis at all. When you vote on this measure, you are agreeing or not agreeing to taxing an industry that's likely to come into San Benito County. The county has been moving toward adopting a regulatory ordinance for a year or so and only have a temporary prohibition in place, not a ban. There is no ban that exists on cannabis currently. It's a temporary moratorium. The opponents of this measure want cannabis businesses to operate tax-free, which is very disappointing. They argue that if this tax fails, that they will somehow halt cannabis businesses from operating in the county. Unfortunately, that is far from the truth. As an example, the city of Hollister generates tax revenue through development agreements. I hope that you could support us in voting yes for Measure C.
Thank you, Victor. Jack Kirk.
Okay. The NOAA C supporters are just local residents. We're not paid advocates or lobbyists. We care about our rural community. We feel Measure C's primary goal is to trick the voters of San Benito County into voting to overturn the county ban on commercial marijuana cultivation next to our rural homes and neighborhoods, without telling you that's what you're voting for. This deceptive measure was submitted without a con argument, but they should have told you that Measure C will have a negative impact on our public safety, environmental, air quality, property values, water supply, neighborhood safety, and quality of life. It is hugely supported by the marijuana trade groups and growers. Measure C is a sneaky con that aims to pull the wool over the eyes of county residents. As a secret punchline, you thought you were voting for a tax where you're actually voting for to allow commercial marijuana farms next to your homes, in the farms and stuff around your homes there. It's not funny. Measure C claims to provide funds for public safety, but instead will create massive threats to our public safety. Don't be fooled, vote no on Measure C. Last fall, a ban was passed that finally shut down the commercial marijuana farms across the county. These grows were neighborhood nuisances. The freelance Mark Medina stated, if we put this on the June ballot, we'll have buy-in from our residents. They are using the measure to get you to buy in to allow marijuana grows near our homes. Do we really want San Benito County to go from being a lettuce bowl to a stench-filled marijuana bowl? In Greenfield, people are being driven out of their homes by overwhelming stench from marijuana cultivation structures with filtration systems that just like those proposed by our supervisors. Other counties have found big marijuana doesn't live up to its promises. Costs have outpaced lobbyists' promises of revenue. There are an overabundance of commercial marijuana already being grown in California. Prices have tumbled and now barely cover production costs. So we just encourage you to protect our property values and our quality of life, keep our community and neighborhoods safe, keep our environmental and air clean, and vote no on Measure C and invite your friends to do so also. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to have the candidates for State Assembly District 30 please come up.
Sorry, guys.
All right, we'll first start with the opening statements from each candidate. 30 seconds, guys, please. We will start with Bill Leip.
30 seconds, wow. Okay, nice to be here in Hollister. Born and raised in Salinas, Monterey County. We had a business, over here in 2009 over on Buena Vista Road. So been real familiar with Hollister and have spent a lot of time here and spent time in traffic here too. That seems to be a common theme. I don't know about you all, but I'm really tired of the non-results that our electeds seem to be constantly producing for us.
That's it.
That's it.
Thank you, Bill.
Nice to meet all of you. Thank you.
Next candidate will be Peter Leroux Munoz.
Thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. It's great to be here in Hollister. I served here 6 years as a deputy district attorney. I was a criminal prosecutor prosecuting criminal offenders. I'm running because our community deserves to be free from crime and violence. Our community deserves streets and roads that are efficient and not scarred by potholes and people stuck in long commutes. And I'm running also to make sure that our youth and our young professionals have economic opportunity such that they don't have to always leave and look north to find a good paying job.
Thank you, Peter. Next candidate with the opening statement will be Robert Rivas.
So I run for state assembly to create opportunity for future generations. And as a county supervisor, I understand the need to fix our roads, improve our traffic, our congestion, to preserve our agricultural heritage and give our rural, our communities the resources to keep our neighborhoods safe. As an educator, I understand the urgent need to prioritize education and the value of having great schools for our children. I've been here in San Benito my entire life, as a resident, a volunteer, a firefighter, an educator, and as the county supervisor.
Thank you, Robert. Next candidate with the opening statement will be Trina Kaufman Gomez.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. My name's Trina, and I'm from Watsonville area. However, I do have family that's been part of this valley here since the 1800s, and I have been a council member for the second term now with planning as well. Been involved with the agricultural community, the area Bay Area government here, Monterey Bay Community Power, and many other agencies that represent this area right now. Have the experience that you want to have at the state in terms of understanding policies and being able to get things done, and look forward to your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Trina. Next will be Neil Kitchens, opening statements.
My name's Neil Kitchens, folks. Sorry. Oh. My name's Neil Kitchens, folks. Most of y'all don't know me. I moved here 32 years ago from Arkansas. I started what is now a successful business, providing housing for low-income, middle-income, mentally ill. I went to law school. Y'all's leaders are failing y'all's folks, okay? We've got homelessness, gas, infrastructure. It's all big problems. I decided I was going to do one of two things, either shut up, move, or get involved. So I decided to get involved.
Thank you, Neil. So at this time, we'll start with the first question. It'll be the same question for each candidate. First candidate will be Peter Leroux Munoz. The question is, in this partisan political environment, do you plan to cross the aisle and build relationships?
Yes, and I can point to my experience working on the Gilroy City Council as an example of doing that. I've been known to be somebody who has worked across aisles, bridging differences, bringing people together on a variety of different issues. We face some very real challenges. My background is such that I'm an attorney, and I always look at issues one at a time. I weigh evidence. That's what attorneys have to do. I've done that exceptionally well on the Gilroy City Council. I think that's why I've been endorsed by so many different local elected officials throughout the region of all parties. I think that speaks to my character and my problem-solving nature. I'm certainly not one to grandstand or take political stands just for their theatrical impact, but really trying to get things done. And certainly that's something that I've been able to do on the Gilroy City Council, and certainly something that I intend to do while in Sacramento.
Thank you, Peter. Next is Trina Kaufman Gomez.
Sure, certainly. I do have the experience with gaining consensus with the community as well as with our council members that I've worked with, as well as the boards and agencies. I have also gone up to the state and talked to the assembly members on both sides of the aisle, because you need to gain consensus in order for us to move forward. It's important that we find the common ground, of which I have that opportunity being able to do with my experience as a council member, working with planning, working on contentious issues. There are many contentious issues. When it comes to money, people are really wanting to decide on what they're going to be able to get in their back door. But it needs to be done with consensus and cooperation and effort that both parties, both sides of the aisle come together on what we need to do that's the highest and best resources for their community and the best use of the funds for these projects, because things just drag on. We have a lot of bureaucracy, and that is something that I want to make sure that you know that I will do at the state, is to represent all people that are here, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, or whether you're white or black, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a matter of gaining consensus and finding common ground, working through that with establishing the right policies that are effective for the community. That's what's important when it comes to the state, on gaining consensus and working and establishing those type of relationships for our community.
Thank you, Trina. Next candidate, Bill Leip.
Yes, absolutely. And specifically working with other rural representatives throughout California. San Francisco and Los Angeles control pretty much half the legislature in both houses, the Senate and the Assembly. I've raised money. That's one of the evils of this whole process, is actually having to ask people for money, and you can't be shy about it, and I haven't been. I've raised almost all of my money within the district. The two candidates on either side of me have raised their money almost wholeheartedly from outside the district. So a lot of this talk about traffic and crime and other things like that are being financed by people that have alternative interests from those of us. So really working with other people, the other party, let's be frank, to represent the values and the problems and the issues we have here in rural California is absolutely critical. And to me, it's the only way we can counterweight this elite urban ideology from San Francisco and Los Angeles that is being crammed down our throats. And I've been working on a lot of water issues the last 3 or 4 years, and I can tell you it's a very contentious issue, even with people that of like ideologies. I've been working hard to create resolutions to these difficult issues that have been put upon us by urban ideologies coming from San Francisco and Los Angeles. And I'm talking about Sigma and the battle with groundwater that we're all starting to have. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Next, we'll have Neil Kitchens.
Thank you.
It's got to be green, Neil.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm not going to have a choice, folks. I'm the only Republican up here. The rest of these folks are Democrats. Democrats have a supermajority in the Assembly, supermajority in the Senate, and they have the executive branch right now. I'm going to have to reach across the aisle. The question is about the partisan political environment. I'll tell you what, politics is not about rhetoric. It's not about ad hominem attacks. It's about one thing, or propaganda for that matter. It's about policy and the results of that policy to the nexus on the ground. So in other words, the gas tax, for example, SB 1, that was passed by the Assembly, Senate, signed into law. That's hurting real people, okay? That's taking money out of people's pockets. So it's policy. It's not, I understand the question is about the partisanship that's going on right now, but I want people to focus on policies. The policies of our education system, the policies that are causing homelessness, which is overregulation, overtaxation, and what is the nexus, in other words, the link to that policy to what you're actually seeing on the ground. That's what politics is all about. So I want to reach across the aisle using all my proven leadership skills and all my business skills to show people that the policies aren't working. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Robert Rivas.
So I often like to say that in my 8 years on the Board of Supervisors, I've always been a proud Democrat and the only one on the Board of Supervisors. And shoot, I'm the only Democrat in my household. My wife's Republican. And so I have some battles at home. But I really have enjoyed my time here in San Benito County because it's about results. It's about cooperation. It's how we get things done. And that's why, I've always told my students that I teach at Gavilan College that local government is the most influential form of government because it's at the local level where the decisions we make impact our communities. Unfortunately, it's partisanship that is failing to produce results at the national level, is failing to produce results at the state level. And we need to change that. Because at the end of the day, we need to make and base our public policy decisions on solid research, on data, and on facts, not on politics. And so at the end of the day, even though I'm proud to say I'm a Democrat, and even though I hold a nonpartisan office, I represent everybody. I represent Democrats, I represent Republicans, I represent men, women, people of all stripes. Because at the end of the day, it's about improving our communities. And if we have to transcend partisanship and politics, that's how we get things accomplished in this state. That's why, we look at immigration in this country, and our immigration system is absolutely broken because you have two parties that are failing to come together and solve the problem. And so I'm looking forward to go to Sacramento and to work with people like Ana Caballero and get things accomplished and get things done in this state. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. At this time, we'll start with question 2 for each candidate. It'll be the same question. The 30th State Assembly represents many jurisdictions. What is your highest priority for San Benito County? And if elected, what is your first action item? First candidate will be Neil Kitchens.
Clearly, just coming over here, it's infrastructure. I keep talking about the gas tax, folks. The gas tax, SB 1, is designed to fix the infrastructure, but it's not going to do that. All SB 1 is window dressing to try to prop up what the unfunded liabilities like the CalPERS, the pensions. The state is in massive debt, folks, and at some point we're going to run out of other people's money. We're not going to be able to borrow our way out of it. Stockton, California. I'm running for District 30, but just as an example, Stockton, California is the largest city in the country to ever file for bankruptcy. I don't want that to happen to any city over here. We have Salinas as our biggest city in this district. Infrastructure is the most important thing here because you have people that are working in the Bay Area and coming over here to buy a home because you can't afford a home in the Bay Area, even if you can find one for sale. The problem with SB 1 is there is no money allocated for new freeways or new lanes. It's maybe only 40% of it anyway was going to go to the infrastructure. So I want to repeal the gas tax. I want to get rid of this train, which originally was $13 billion. Now it's $77 billion. By the time they get to doing it, it'll be $100 billion. Get rid of the train completely. I want to build new freeways, expand lanes, and make it the infrastructure is the #1 priority here in San Benito County. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Next will be Bill Leip.
Yeah, I made my way over here on 156 from Monterey County. And I know I've been commuting through this area and obviously visiting here for a long time. It's a traditional way for us to go spend time in Lake Tahoe is to come through the Hollister area in San Benito County. 156 is a joke. I think 25 is also maybe worse, which is kind of hard to imagine. So I think roads would be a big priority. And I don't like necessarily this grant funding process because I know all of us in this big jurisdiction that you point out here in your question of the 30th district, we're piecemeal. We get the crumbs if we're lucky. Again, San Francisco and Los Angeles are predominantly the areas that get that grant money and get those roads built. So something has to be done in order to ensure that the funding gets to the areas where it's needed. And maybe even a 2-for-1 or 3-for-1 bonus for rural communities who've been sitting out here starving for so long for just little things like a nicer road or an overpass there at Union Road, simple things like that, things that have been talked about for many decades but never been done. I think water's an important issue. I know I'm short here on time, but I think water in San Benito County, San Juan Bautista in particular, is a very important issue. So those are things that I would focus on, and managing growth. If the county can't manage the growth in this place, then maybe the state should come in and help out.
Thank you, Bill. Robert?
So the issues in San Benito County are magnified 10 times over, and not only San Benito County, but in rural California. And one of my main goals, and one of the reasons I'm a candidate, is obviously creating opportunities. And none are as important than in rural California in tackling the issues we have here. Issues of affordability. We have an affordability crisis, related to housing, related to health care, related to college tuition. But prioritizing our issues in rural California it needs to be a priority for all of us in this state. Our infrastructure, our roads, when you look at our transportation issues, certainly we need to repair and improve our roads. But we also have to improve our transportation networks and relieve congestion. And so certainly utilizing technology, utilizing ways for investment. People in if you live in Sacramento or in San Francisco and you choose to be in 2 hours because you have a 20-mile a commute, that's your choice. But here in rural California, we don't have that choice. We don't have mass transit options. And so certainly it's prioritizing our issues to make sure that we get our fair share from an SB1, to make sure that we're utilizing opportunities to improve our communities, which can, as I mentioned, from an affordability standpoint, from a rural standpoint, transportation, we can't recruit industries here if we don't have broadband access. We don't have high-speed internet to allow people that live here to commute, to work from home. So creating those opportunities for people to stay here, invest here, and be off the roadways.
Thanks, Robert. Peter?
The top priority is two-part, and stop me if you've heard this one before, but it's traffic relief and road repair. Absolutely at the top of the list. We look at some of the biggest challenges that we face with the conditions of our roads that are deteriorating and the escalating cost to actually fix those, and the tax that puts on drivers who routinely have to repair their cars more frequently as a result of those low conditions for roads. We also look at the amount of time that people lose every single day stuck in traffic and commutes. It's absolutely insane. When they commute more than 2 hours each way to work, that's tantamount to a part-time job for which you're not being paid every week. So certainly recognizing those two problems is very important, would be my top priority. I have experience doing that on the Gilroy City Council, working with the Mobility Partnership that brings together both the San Benito County representatives and Santa Clara representatives as we address issues around 156, 152, and Highway 25, working to find those solutions. Additionally, I've also worked on several different measures that have had success in Santa Clara County that have brought millions of dollars into the city of Gilroy to help with our road repair. So my expertise and my background would certainly inspire me as my first act to work with the California Transportation Commission to come up with a viable funding plan and a structure for addressing some of these issues around road repair and traffic relief.
Thank you, Peter. Trina?
Thank you. We have all heard about transportation, and we know that it's a significant amount of the money that we need. SB1 is one of the take-homes that we're supposed to be able to use in our rural community here to address what's going on with the 156 and the 25s that are here. Self-help county, this is one of the last counties in the area here that is not a self-help. That's something that needs to be considered for this community. I know you have a tax measure on the ballot that's a general tax measure, so that's something to be thinking about. There's also other bigger factors. CalPERS is a huge hit that the state has, and PEPRA is not going to be the solution to remediate the problem that many of the communities have. Hollister, San Benito County alone, you're spending about $8 million a year just for the unfunded mandate or the unfunded liability that you have for your CalPERS. That retirement is significant for communities. That will be something that needs to be focused. It's a can of worms to open up, I know, but it needs to be done. Again, we talked about transportation, your housing component. One of the issues you have here is you probably have less than 100 affordable units in this entire community. We also know that the housing that you need has to be all forms of housing, whether it's transitional, whether it's affordable, whether it's rental, even multiple families, because that is what the community makeup is that's here. And focus on implementing what the legislation is that's coming down from the housing component and making sure that it's effectively working, because right now the policy, the money just sits there unused because of the way that the rules are set with using the funds.
Thank you, Trina. At this time, we'll have the third and final question. It'll be the same question for each candidate. It is traffic congestion is a huge issue for San Benito County, as we all know. The three main transportation routes in and out of the county are state highways, 152, 156, and 25. How would you help alleviate this problem? And we'll start with Robert.
Yeah, you know, so certainly, as I mentioned, investing and prioritizing our issues are extremely important. And so when you look at, you know, the ingress and egress problem we have in this county, I think that, you know, making sure we get our fair share from Sacramento is vital to our ability to recruit industry here, to make sure that, you know, our residents have a quality of life, you know, staying here in our communities and not in their cars. And so, you know, making sure that we utilize technologies. As I mentioned, it's very difficult for us to recruit industries here without access to, you know, high-speed internet. You know, having the ability, you know, it's 2018. We pride ourselves, we live in California, we pride ourselves on our innovation, our technology. And so having the ability to work from home is something that we should be striving for. You know, when you take into the consideration that a large number of our residents commute. Being able to visit the doctor remotely from home is something that we've got to strive for. Utilizing technologies, investing in our communities in ways that, you know, to prepare for the next wave of technology like automation and the driverless cars. And so making sure that, you know, we're preparing our communities and local governments to be able to improve the flow of traffic. Because when you think of our problems with congestion, it's an intractable problem. And so certainly making sure that we regionalize these issues, making sure that we're working with, you know, the bureaucracies in Sacramento to prioritize these issues and these corridors that are important for the flow of traffic and for San Benito County in particular.
Thanks, Robert. Next candidate will be Trina.
Yes. Again, I think all of us have a consensus that transportation is a huge issue, and this county is not any different than the rest of the counties with that type of impact. Again, I've mentioned too that the self-help tax makes a difference, because what you don't have the opportunity that other counties have that have adopted this is leveraging that to be able to offset more money available to you as a rural community to go ahead and add to SB1 funds, your general fund money that's coming in to help with your capital improvement projects for transportation. The other thing too is you have commuters going to Santa Clara Valley, and they are working up that way as well, and working with your partners, working with that county as well on these projects where you're getting the transportation from community members here that are going up to San Jose. And it's really important that you work along that, because that's the corridor that you basically share for all three, whether it's 156 or 152 or the Highway 25, to move people and get them around. I don't think the automated vehicles are going to really be that effective, because it's just changing what your four wheels are that are on the road. You need to have other forms of modalities that allow some incentives for carpooling and anything else that can be done, as well as being able to work from home. Those are all going to be things that you're going to need to work on here and invest money in, along with the funding that we're getting from the state and the Fed on this. Those are going to be really important for you to be able to work and improve and help out with that infrastructure problem that you have here. Thank you.
Thanks, Trina. Next, we'll have Bill.
Yeah, I was just reflecting back on something that was said, that things not getting done in California because of politics. I mean, Democrats control the legislature. Why should we have to struggle to communicate with our own party the needs of our community, our district, and rural districts around the state of California? It just seems puzzling to me. And I worked in IT, the commute from home thing. Most business managers and businesses don't like it. They like their employees to be around, to be present, to be accountable for what's going on. They're making the payrolls. They're providing the benefits. They want employees to be able to be accessible. And working from home, maybe it's a psychological thing, but folks, you know, just they want people around. They want to be able to see you and see you working and be able to access you when they need an issue resolved, or they need a problem or a customer served. As far as what I would do with these three roads, I'd talk seriously with the landowners around here, the farmers in particular. Figure out how to widen these roads. It's going to involve taking out acreage, which I know As a Farm Bureau director over in Monterey County, and I'm not speaking for the Farm Bureau here, I'm speaking as an individual, but I know there's always a high price on wanting to sacrifice farmland, but in this case, it might actually make sense. The Romans had it right. Build the roads. Rail, battery cars, all this other stuff. Let's just build roads. It's a very simple concept, and it works.
Thank you, Bill. Next candidate, Neil.
Well, first of all, folks, I'm not going to raise your taxes, okay? We already pay the highest taxes in the country. While the rest of the country is experiencing an economic boom, we here in California are getting the bejesus taxed out of us, okay? So I'm not going to do that, okay? As far as SB 1, how many times we heard that bell ring? We're going to raise your gas taxes and we're going to fix the roads with it. That needs to be repealed. CalPERS. You've heard my colleagues up here mention CalPERS. That's going to have to be renegotiated. I'm sorry, but the politicians in Sacramento made promises that we just can't keep. So we're going to have to utilize our existing budget. We're going to have to renegotiate CalPERS, okay? And we're going to have to expand the roads. So we're going to have to do that by, like Bill said, working with landowners. But another thing is Caltrans. I mean, I have personal experience with Caltrans. They have more waste, fraud, and abuse than you can ever possibly imagine, okay? They waste more material than they order. I drove a belly dump hauling asphalt for them. They were having me and 2 other drivers bring 6 buckets of asphalt to one little road repair right over here in San Juan Bautista. Took them 2 weeks. We built the whole Crazy Horse overpass in 2 weeks with Granite Construction. Okay, that's a private company. For-profit businesses we need to use, not Caltrans. We need to expand the lanes. We need to add lanes, and we need to build new freeways, utilizing existing budget, not raising taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Last candidate here, Peter.
So there's an old saying that money is the mother's milk of politics. Money is also the mother's milk of transportation improvements. And certainly when we look at this, it all comes down to funding, dollars and cents. How do we get our fair share? That's something that we've talked about quite a bit actually tonight in our very short time together. One of the things that I've already mentioned is that I have experience working with the California Transportation Commission. This is the state agency that allocates funding for transportation improvements. This means that our district needs a strong advocate to make sure that we are getting our fair share. That's something I have experience doing and something I'll certainly continue doing as well. We also need to make sure that we're leveraging existing grant funding that's available. And oftentimes, grant funding is allocated based on which projects are most shovel-ready. That is, they're ready to go and to be built. They've gone through all the proper procedures and the proper tests and checks, and they've checked out and they're ready to move forward. So making sure that I'm working with the local elected officials, but also local staff, as best that I can to ensure that we are getting those projects as close to shovel-ready as possible, such that when money becomes available, we can immediately take advantage of that. That's something that I'm doing right now, as I mentioned earlier, on the mobility partnership for all 3 of these areas, 152, 156, and 25.
Thank you, Peter. Now at this time, we'll wrap things up with a closing statement from each candidate. You'll each have a minute. We will start with Peter.
Thank you. So San Benito County is incredibly special to me. I have family here in the room tonight. My father grew up here. This has always been like a second home for me. As I mentioned also, I served our region as a deputy district attorney, as a criminal prosecutor right here in San Benito County. And I'm so incredibly proud to have that connection to this region. I see so much incredible potential for our region. And our quality of life is something that is really an envy to a lot of other parts of the state and the country. But we face some very real challenges that threaten that way of life and that quality of life. And I touched on them earlier. We're seeing a rise in crime and violence. We're seeing a rise in our commute times and the condition of our roads deteriorating. And we're seeing less and less economic opportunity and business development going on here, and more of that taking place further to the north in the Bay Area and Silicon Valley. These are the issues that inspire me to run, because I really do believe in our district, and I believe so much in San Benito County. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Peter. Next candidate will be Neil Kitchens.
Thank you, folks, for being here. I really appreciate it. I'll tell you what, If you look under each issue that's facing District 30, infrastructure, crime, housing, and one thing that nobody ever brings up is forestry. We have a big chunk of the Los Padres National Forest, Ventana Wilderness. It burns up every 30 years. It burns up. First we have drought, then we have fire, then we have mudslides, and each phase costs human life, animals' lives, and cost destruction of property. That all could be avoided. I'm a professional forester. I went to law school. I provide housing for mentally ill, low income. I promise you I will use all those skills when I go to Sacramento, and I will not check my common sense when I get to the city limits. If you see the laws that are coming out of that place right now, it's just, it'll make your skin crawl. Their idea of criminal justice reform is letting rapists out and putting waiters that give plastic straws in jail. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Next candidate, Trina.
Thank you. As long as okay. I just want to say thanks again for the opportunity to be here and to give you a chance to compare and contrast the different candidates that are before you. And you're here to learn about us, and so that you can make that best informed decision, so that you know who you're going to go ahead and strike on the ballot on who you're going to elect here. We know that there's your interest, and we need to fix what's broken up there. We need to bring money and resources to this county. We know that that's important. Someone who can get the job done, someone who has life experience with real firsthand knowledge about creating effective policies that are practical, they're collaborative, and they address the real issues that need to be handled in this community here. As your state assemblyman, my message is this. I'm that someone who is already ahead of the curve when it comes to being up to speed on action you want to take to represent you in the rural community in Sacramento. My accountability and integrity as a proven leader comes from years of experience in housing, transportation, environmental, and agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you, Trina. Next candidate, Bill Light.
I don't know about you all, but I'm really sick and tired of all the BS going on. That's why I got in this race. I don't want the same old banner of endorsements. We're going to put this person, they're the next leader of District 30. I've been in the trenches. I've made payrolls. I've battled Region 3 Water Quality Board. I've battled the State Water Board. And I say battle because they are trying to come in and do things and take stuff away, take away private property rights, impair our businesses to be able to employ people. It's really frustrating as a private citizen to watch what's happening. I'm not following the path of all our electeds and former electeds that have led down a path of failure. I don't have a lot of endorsements from electeds, primarily because where I live, I hold them accountable, and I'm not afraid to do so in public, on the public record. And when I'm elected, I would expect that you would do the same of me, to hold me accountable. Why isn't the roads done? Why aren't they improved? Why don't we have interchanges on these 3 roads so you don't have signal lights? That's crazy. There should be nice, beautiful off-ramps like they have in Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, Sacramento. We should have those same benefits. I will be someone that will be your advocate. I will fight for our businesses, for our families, for our community, and everyone in our community. So I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Aaron.
Robert?
So, my family and I have very deep roots here in San Benito. You know, I grew up in Piscinas, which is about a half hour from here. I lived in farm worker housing with my mom, who's a single parent, and with my grandparents. And my family, my grandfather immigrated to Mexico because he knew that life would be better here in California and in San Benito than it would have been in Mexico. And now my wife Chris and I are raising our daughter Melina, 2 years old, in the same county where I grew up. And I want her to enjoy the same opportunities I've had. You know, and I want her to experience what we all want for our children, which is upward mobility. You know, I'm proud to be the only candidate supported by teachers, nurses, firefighters, and deputy sheriffs, because although a lot of people may not agree, endorsements do matter. To be endorsed by current Assemblywoman Ana Caballero and by more than 75 local elected officials in this district. I have built incredible support across this district because I'm the only candidate that they trust is going to go to Sacramento and fight for the issues important to this district, but most importantly, to represent the values that we all care about. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Robert. And thank you to all you candidates.
So we're gonna first start with opening statements from the candidates. 30 seconds each. Elia Salinas.
Good evening. Thank you, San Benito Farm Bureau and BenitoLink. My name is Elia Salinas. I've been a resident for about 25 years here in the area, in the county. I am running, and I chose to run because I am already involved with what's going on in this community. Other than Supervisor Munzer, I am the only candidate up here that already attends the majority of the board meetings and know what's going on, and I'm quoted quite often in BenitoLink because of the opinions that I have about what I feel that the board is going either in the correct direction or the wrong direction.
Thank you, Elia. Moving on with Rob Bernowski.
Hi. Hi, thank you for hosting this forum. My name's Rob Bernowski. I'm a chief financial officer. I'm running for this office because I'm angry that our local government has let us down. That will stop with me. At the very least, the county government should build and maintain roads to fit the population, but I sit and stop and go traffic every day. At the very least, the county should collect and distribute taxes correctly. Yet as a school board member, I can tell you we are missing a lot of money and spending tens of thousands of dollars to figure it out what the county did with it.
Thank you, Rob. Jim Gilio.
My name is Jim Gilio, and thank you all for coming out tonight. I'd love to see everybody involved, and I'd love to see all the candidates here as well. I'm a very unique candidate. I have some public safety experience. I work for municipal government. I also have my own small business with my wife here in town, and I also have about 10, 11 months of city council experience. So I'm going to bring all of that experience to the county level and see if we can bring some sense up there, and let's start working on our roads and bringing jobs to our community.
Thank you. Sandy Swint.
Thank you, Farm Bureau and BenitoLink for having me.
Mike.
Thank you, Farm Bureau and BenitoLink for having me. My name is Sandy Swint, and I'm running for supervisor. I'm running for supervisor because I believe we need to slow down our growth and fix our roads. My background is in marketing, and I would like us to focus on tourism, show off our wineries and our national park and all of the other great things in our community that we have to offer.
Thank you, Sandy. Jerry Munzer.
Thank you everyone for coming tonight. I want to also thank the Farm Bureau and BenitoLink for hosting this. I see many friends and family in the audience, and I have been the county supervisor for the last 7.5 years, and I hope to be for the next 4. I bring a wide range of experience. I have served as a school board trustee and also many regional committees where I'm working collaboratively with other elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. So moving forward, the next question will be for all candidates. We each have 90 seconds. Starting with Sandy. With such a large and diverse district, how are you going to improve the safety and fire protection for both suburban and rural residents?
Well, right now, our safety law enforcements are shorthanded in our county. And as we are building more homes, we don't have the safety services that we need. Our sheriff's department is stretched for the county. Our wait times are extremely long. And so I think that what we really need to do is we need to be allocating more money for our safety departments, and we need to provide more officers in our county, especially.
Thank you. Elia, same question.
Yes, I agree with Sandy with regards to that we are undermanned or underwomaned with both the sheriff department and with the fire department. And right now, the fire department is, for the city of Hollister, is doing San Juan Bautista as well as the county. I would like to find a resource to be able to improve and bring in revenue, but I would prefer not to have to do it by taxes. I think that as we are having some developments coming into town, and we are way under, when it comes to housing, we're way under as mandated by the state. And I think as developers are coming in, I think that the Board of Supervisors, I believe that it is their duty to get with their development agreements, to have that in place so that we can get the funds from the developers that are coming into the area to help fund for the fire safety.
Thank you, Alia. Jerry Munzer?
District 4 is very large. It runs from San Juan Canyon to Fresno County line. But the people are great. The people are self-sufficient, especially in the rural area. But I have been working along with Supervisor Patello, members of the City Council, members of both City of Hollister and City of San Juan, on a fire protection committee to improve the fire protection for the whole county and the incorporated cities. And we have made great strides in that fashion. Also, I have been an advocate that the out-of-town developers must not only pay their fair share, but pay for the sins of the previous developers that have left our infrastructure in ruin. And we need to have better development agreements, and we need to achieve improvement by making sure any development does pay for it, for the improvement. It is a complex problem, but it can be solved, and it will take much work, because the developers are already pushing back and don't want to pay their share. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Rob?
So the first thing we have to do is reprioritize our spending. We know that public safety is very much on the minds of the folks in District 4. We are understaffed on both fire and on deputy sheriffs. But we spend a lot of money in this county, and perhaps we spend too much on health and welfare, for example, and we can, buy us some more deputies. Once we pick a transportation corridor, people will start buying land along that transportation corridor and putting in revenue-generating businesses, like a truck stop, like a hotel. The sooner we do that, the more we get to realize that revenue. When you get that revenue, you can end up buying more public safety. When there is development in the county, this is very important. Right now, historically, sales tax has been assessed at the origin of the building materials, the roofs, the lumber, the nails. If we require the developers to do FOB San Benito County, we will collect the sales taxes on those new homes that go in. This is a very smart way to raise revenue, and we can have more public safety. Fourth, we have to pick the most cost-effective way for the entire county. I'm not so sure what the plan that we came up with a few years ago is the most cost-effective way. I'm a chief financial officer.
Thank you, Rob. Jim?
This question seems to be directed at fire protection and safety, but I want to address the public safety aspect as well, as far as specifically law enforcement. Our sheriff's department has been decimated because of budget needs, and right now, if you were to call the sheriff's department, I would estimate that you're going to find out that there's probably 2 deputies on duty right now, and that's for the entire county. That's from Aromas to, as Mr. Munzer stated, the Fresno County line. Very small number of deputies for a very large percentage of the county. We have a huge land mass that we're just not effectively policing. So number one, we're going to reprioritize public safety and make sure they get the funds. Specifically with fire, so fire is an interesting issue. The county of San Benito right now contracts with the city of Hollister for their fire protection services. It has not always been that way. Currently, the county pays approximately $1.48 million to the city of Hollister and is getting frankly, a really good deal for the amount of service that they're getting. Right now, the county is looking at getting bids from other agencies such as CAL FIRE, et cetera, and I anticipate those bids to come in somewhere between $2.9 to $3 million. If and when I'm elected to the County Board of Supervisors, I would like to continue working with the city of Hollister. I've reached out to a lot of residences, had a lot of meet and greets, and I asked them about their fire protection services and how they feel about them, and they're comfortable with the service that they're getting. So I think we should keep working on that at that value that we're getting now. Also, all new homes need to have a community facilities district assessed to them. The city of Hollister is doing that now, and that takes care of police, fire, landscape and lighting, and infrastructure. The county needs to do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Moving forward to question 2. This will be addressed to all candidates. What is your vision of San Benito County in 20 years, and what 3 things would you do to get us there? Starting with Elia.
In reality, in 20 years, we're probably talking about finally building the roads that we're talking about right now. We do need the infrastructure for the roads, and we're going to have more housing between now and then. But how can we work to get something today in the next few years instead of having to wait for 20 years? I would like to see within 20 years having those roads already having been built and not being up here discussing it again, that we need to do the infrastructure. We want to plan for the future, we need to start planning for it now, but we should have started planning for it last year or 2 years ago, actually 20 years ago. The roads and the bypass that was built here within the city, 25 there is the Pinnacles Highway. It was a vision for a long time, so it takes a long time. So I would like to say that I can see a vision in 20 years, but in reality, I think it takes all of us. It takes everybody to either, you're going to have to raise taxes. I don't want to have to do it that way. I would like to see a very friendly atmosphere, just the way we have now, everybody getting along, more parks, more people enjoying the parks. You know, people talking about the road structures. I cycle the country roads all the time. I hike Pinnacles and I hike the De Anza Trail. And so there's many places that we can go and whatever, but everybody said, does somebody down in South County actually want to pay for what's going on 25?
Thank you, Elia. Sandy?
I think that we really need to be thinking about the decisions that we're making in a long-term sense. Instead of building all these thousands of homes, what we should be doing is, we've all heard of the wine country, right? We should be wine in the country. We should be, I vision us as a destination. We should be partnering with our wineries, our hotels, and our national park to make ourselves a destination. This should be a vision for our entire county. Otherwise, we're just gonna end up being another housing community, another suburb of San Jose. So I vision a place that would be more of a destination for people to come and visit instead of just a place to buy a cheap house.
Thank you, Sandy. Jim?
So, super important question. Where are we going to be in 20 years? And I can answer that with a 3-step idea. So, number 1, we need to get our public safety on track. We need to re-staff our sheriff's department. We need to get our fire protection squared away, because if you don't feel safe, you're not going to want to live in our community, number 1. And if you don't feel safe, you're not going to want to bring business to our community or expand your local small business. I see a lot of small business owners in our area, and we need to prioritize the safety in our community so that we can bring more jobs here. Economic development. We recently adopted our comprehensive economic development strategy at the county level. That took a while to push through the county. We finally got it done. And what that means for us is we can now apply for federal dollars for economic development. We can do things like build roads, build off-ramps, all those sorts of things actually fit under that umbrella. We can build business parks and bring people here. So the city, I was just sitting at this table about 3 weeks ago with the federal government, learning about what grants are available for us so we can start building our economic development, bringing jobs here. I agree with Ms. Swint. We need to capture the tourists that are coming here. We have 250,000 people that go to the Pinnacles and 250,000 that go to Hollister Hills, and we're not capturing those dollars and promoting that. Infrastructure. The third one, once we get revenue flowing in, I look at revenue as think of water in a pipe. The more tributaries and streams you have in coming in, we can't just depend on grants. We have to depend on economic development. We bring all that revenue in, and all of a sudden the revenue is going to be flowing out the end of that pipe or the end of that river, and we're going to have the money to do all these things that I just suggested.
Thank you, Jim. Rob?
This is the best question of the evening because my wife and I have a choice whether we want to live here or not. The question was, what is my vision of San Benito County in 20 years? Number one, that transportation corridor will be built. Number two, you will enjoy living here. Our quality of life will be just as good or better today 20 years from now. What are the three things that I can accomplish to get those things done? Build the road. I will die on that promise, but we are going to get that major corridor, transportation corridor, at least started, if not done, by the time I'm finally through with public office. Do whatever's necessary to get more sales tax revenue here. Again, things like if there's going to be building, choosing where the sales tax is going to be assessed is very, very important. You do the transportation corridor, businesses will be built along it that will generate sales tax revenues. Third, make sure the county is functioning for its intended purpose. Right now, the county government is broken. Listen, you have a lot of people that are speaking up here for a lot of different offices. Ask them, are their departments well run? Are they doing what they're supposed to do? What have they accomplished in their lives or why they've been holding office? In my closing statement, I'll tell you what I've been able to do, but the county's going to be a lot better run 20 years from now than it is today. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Jerry?
My family moved here in 1910. My wife's family moved here in 1880s. We have deep roots in San Benito County. We have been blessed with 4 children that have grown up in this community, continue to live in this community, and all work in this community. We've also been blessed with 9 grandchildren, ages 12 to 2.5. In 20 years, those kids are going to be coming of age. I want them to be able to enjoy the rural heritage that we still enjoy in this county. I want them to be able to work here if they choose to work here, so that there will be jobs for them. And I want them to be able to live here. I want to see affordable houses for everyone. That is my vision in 20 years, that our kids, grandkids, and ourselves can continue to live, work, and enjoy this beautiful, God-blessed community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Moving on to our individual candidate questions. We're starting with you, Jerry. Recently, you brought up building a moratorium as a temporary fix to the county's traffic problem until Highway 25 is widened. If re-elected, what would be your plan to fund and construct the widening of Highway 25 during a moratorium?
Okay, I was misquoted by the media. I did not bring up moratorium as a
I'm just
temporary-
reading the question.
No,
so I'm
and I'm
sorry.
answering it. I'm not, I was misquoted by the media. I did not bring up moratorium as a temporary fix for anything. What I did was to ask staff, because I have heard it so often that we need to do a moratorium. I do not agree with a moratorium. So I was asking staff in an open meeting to come back and tell us why we cannot do a moratorium. That is why moratorium came up. I believe, as I said earlier, that to fix not only Highway 25, but all of our infrastructure issues, because we have more than just traffic infrastructure. We have water issues. We have housing issues. The community development, the out-of-town developers, if they want to build here, they're going to have to be ready to step up and help us resolve these issues. So they need to be able to build, but they need to be ready and willing to help us with our infrastructure, and I have not seen that from the community. Because when I got on board, I reduced the impact fee by $25,000 per unit, and then the development community sued the county over $11,000.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jerry. This question is for Elia. According to your candidate statement, you mentioned that there are elements not working at the county level. Can you specify what those are, and what is the solution? What is your solution?
I think the first thing that I would like to mention is the fact that we have a consultant that the county is paying for in Sacramento to represent our interest. And I would like to find out what is the status of what is going on in Sacramento. What kind of work are they doing for us, or what kind of work is this consultant doing for us? I have no idea what she looks like. I'm sure she's been to some of the meetings. I'm sure she's reporting, but it's not coming back to us, to the public. That is what I would like to get done. The other thing that I would like to do that's not working at the county level is the communication, reaching out to the community to find out what's going involved. I think what we're lacking is the fact that the only time somebody shows up to the Board of Supervisors meeting or to a city council meeting is when it affects your street or it affects something that's going on that affects you personally. I think more people should be involved in what's going on in the community and have that communication. All the supervisors that I communicate with, they're all great at returning phone calls. They're all great at meeting with you. And I think there needs to be a way for more people to get involved so that we can know what is going on at the county level.
Thank you, Elia. This question is for Rob. You have described San Benito County as being at a tipping point. What do you mean, and what solutions do you suggest?
We are at a tipping point. We have the battle: development, no development; cannabis, no cannabis, for example. And these things directly impact our quality of life. Taking the development of the homes, we either have to smartly do it and figure out what that means and control it, do it smartly if we're going to do it, or we have to make the decision there will be no more development in San Benito County, or there won't be any outside of the city. But these are very important decisions being made. Developers are offering money to candidates and things along those lines. I'm not backed by developers. I'm not backed by the anti-developers. I'm just here to maintain and increase our quality of life, and homes is certainly a big part of it. Cannabis is huge. Okay? There's a lot of unintended consequences that go with this, and I know it. I'm sitting up here tonight because I could not sit in my backyard in Ridgemark because one of my neighbors is either growing it or smoking it or both, and I can't enjoy my backyard right now. That's an unintended consequence. I'm not a user. I've never been a user. Why should I be impacted just because supposedly the vast majority of people vote for this? I don't believe that they do. I don't believe that the vast majority of people understand the unintended consequences of cannabis. I'm not saying it's not going to be here. It's here. It's legal. But we have to deal with it smartly.
Thank you, Rob. This question's for Sandy. What specific qualifications do you have that sets you apart from your opponents?
Well, I have a degree in marketing and public relations with a minor in business administration, and I currently work doing marketing for an advertising company. And I think what qualifies me is the fact that the San Benito is lacking the full vision of what we want to become. And I can help us put together a committee to really market our county and really put out what's good about our county. Instead of looking for just building new homes, we really need to go after what we're really about, what our vision for our county is, keeping our rural county rural. And the way we do that is to really show off our wineries and show off our parks. And I think that my marketing background is what sets me apart from all of my other candidates. And I'm willing to fight for what's right. I'm willing to fight to save our rural county.
Thank you, Sandy. Jim, this question's for you. San Benito County has a relative low crime rate. However, you list public safety as your #1 priority. Can you please explain how that comes above the many other issues facing our county?
Absolutely, yeah, so we're fortunate right now to have a pretty low crime rate, but that crime rate is artificially low. So we have, if you guys aren't all aware of it, in 2011, there's a proposition called AB 109, Assembly Bill 109. It was realignment, and it was shifting prisoners from the state population down to the county. And then we were tasked with supposedly being able to supervise those folks, but we don't have the money to do it. And then we have Proposition 57 and Proposition 47. Basically, they have decriminalized a lot of very violent offenses, including rape of an unconscious person, for example. And those people are being released. So what happens is a community, and I hear this from the Sheriff's Department, I hear it from the Police Department, people aren't calling to report crimes like they used to. You don't call to report your auto burglary anymore because you see in the news that they're not doing anything about very serious crimes. So I think that, I don't just think this, the flavor I get and the feel I get in our neighborhood is that crime is actually out there, but it's just not being reported the way it was in the past. So that's it. Number one, we got to have that building block of safety. You have to have it. And once you get behind the 8 ball with public safety, you cannot get it back. Look at the community of Salinas. The community of Gilroy decided to invest over $1.2 million in the late 1990s in a gang team. They have an 8-person gang team now that all they do is they go out and deal with gangs and narcotics because they did not want to become a Salinas. We do not want to get behind the 8 ball. Once you get behind the 8 ball of public safety, you will never get back to where your community was before. And as I already stated, we have 2 deputies on the street right now. We need to increase that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Moving forward to closing statements, each candidate will have 1 minute, starting with you, Jim.
Great, thank you. There we go. It was on 1:30. There you go. So my name again, Jim Gilio. I really am asking for your vote, asking for your support. I want to tell you a little bit more about me in my closing statement. I grew up in San Benito County. I have a degree in criminology from Fresno State. I have worked for San Benito County as a sheriff's department officer for a very short time. I worked in the city of Gilroy for quite a while, managing ultimately a $17 million budget. I have that experience. I also run a small business with my wife. I've been with my wife since 1992, and we have an 11-year-old daughter. I really want to make San Benito County a place, like everybody else was saying up here, that my daughter, if she chooses to, can live and work here in the future. Super important for me. I want to use our recently adopted SEDS, Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, to bring jobs to our community. We need to bring jobs here, plain and simple. We have over 11,680 people that commute out of our community every day, and those people are not involved in our community. It's very hard for them, right? So we need to change that, frankly. Vote for Jim Gilio, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Elia?
Hi, again, my name is Elia Salinas, and I would appreciate your vote. I have been a county resident for 25 years. I am very fortunate that I don't get to commute and use 25 and use 156, and when I do leave the town, you have to be able to, it's got to be scheduled so that I can leave town, so I don't get caught like the commuters do. So let's all work together and try to find out something that we could, together as a community, what can we do? A lot of people complain, but nobody comes up with a resolution. So I think together we can come up with a resolution without having to increase taxes, whether it's for cannabis, because they're saying the cannabis tax is going to fix the roads, and they're saying, you know, if you do, maybe we're going to have a gas tax or a sales tax. I think there's other ways to come up without it, without having to raise any taxes. And I think that we are a rural community. I don't think that we do have a lot of tourism coming in here, but I really don't. Visiting the wineries and having drunk people on the roads is not exactly what we want for tourism.
Thank you, Elia. Moving forward to Rob.
I take my campaign statements seriously.
Moving forward to Rob. Thank you, Rob.
Okay. I take my campaign statements seriously, and I have a lot of accomplishments. I have a great track record in both my personal life and as an elected school board member of the Hollister School District, for example. When I made those promises, I kept them, and I want to continue to do that as a county supervisor. As I mentioned before, my wife and I have a choice where we live, and we choose to live here, and I want my grandchildren to hopefully get to know San Benito County. My promise to you is that is what I will work for every single day, is that San Benito County and its natural beauty will remain, but we take care of some of the problems that are causing us all this angst. I truly do believe, I am the one person up here who will get things done for the better. If you're in the 4th District, you will be getting a letter from me that lists my accomplishments on the back. Please take that into consideration and cast your vote for Rob Bernosky for County Supervisor.
Thank you, Rob. Jerry?
Thank you, everyone. I am the incumbent. I have served on the Board of Supervisors for 7 years. You heard earlier a lot about the Mobility Partnership Committee. I am the chair of that committee. We are working to realign Highway 152, 25, and 156. We are now working because Santa Clara County passed a sales tax measure on improving the interchange at 25 and 101. Caltrans is looking at doing a roundabout at the intersection of 156 and 25. I also serve as the president of the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments, which is the regional transportation agency. So I am involved in solving our transportation issues regionally with our regional partners of Santa Clara, Monterey, and Santa Cruz County. And I'm very proud of the work I have done in these 7 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Sandy?
Thank you very much for having me and my fellow candidates up here today to answer questions. I'm running because I want us to slow down our growth. I think that we should not be developing any development south of Union, and we should implement the 1 acre plot rule, again, for our rural county. I would like us to fix our roads that are desperate for attention, and I think we should focus our efforts on tourism and work with our wineries, our national park, and our hotels to show off the great things in our county. We also need to attract higher paying jobs in our county so we can keep people from commuting so much to Santa Clara. I would like to improve the quality of life in our county and keep it a community that we can be proud of. I humbly ask for your vote for Supervisor District 4. Again, I'm Sandy Swint.
Thank you to our candidates.
At this time, I'll like to bring up Darren Thompson, Sheriff Corner. Darren, whenever you're ready, you can do an opening statement.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Is my microphone on? No. Is there, Go green. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not acquainted with me, I am Darren Thompson, the seated sheriff. I'm the 15th sheriff elected in the history of this county. It's been my honor to serve you for the last 2 terms. I did not grow up here, but my family did. I raised my children here. I hope to raise my grandchildren here. My wife and I this year are celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary, and I'm also celebrating my 30th year of law enforcement. I spent 23 of those years.
Sorry, Darren. Thank you.
I can tell you that I know how to adhere to bells and lights.
I'm sure you do. Okay, so we'll start with question 1 for you. What is your policy on public accessibility and media transparency for the Sheriff's Office?
We provide Public Record Act requests for anyone who comes to our office and requests those, and we're quite busy doing them. We also provide a statement to the media each day regarding our bookings and our arrests and the case numbers that we pull during the activities that we are encountering out in the community. It's unfortunate that we're not able to provide a greater insight into our agency due to a lack of IT staffing and support, but we're working on that together collectively with the county and hope to provide more of that in the future.
Thank you, Darren. Second question, is there anything you can say about the fear related to the DACA situation that is so unsettling for many of our residents?
The United States government code clearly states that immigration is the role and responsibility of our federal government. Our local law enforcement officials, in my opinion, from my survey, have no interest in performing immigration work. We like it the way that it has been for the last 40 years, where our federal partners are doing that important work, and our local partners are are encouraging people of all classes, and whether they're documented or not, to be able to come into our law enforcement centers and participate as victims and witnesses, testify in trials, and continue to see justice done. Recently, SB 54 has made that more difficult by limiting our ability to communicate with our federal partners, and it will certainly be affecting the DACA issue as we move forward.
Great, thank you, Darren. Last question. During your tenure, what challenges have you overcome, and if re-elected, what are your priorities?
I'd like to thank all the previous speakers who talked about the budget cuts for the sheriff's office. I often tell people that I have the greatest job in the world at the worst time in history. Coming to an agency with 96 funded positions and seeing them decimated to only 46 funded positions has been an incredible challenge. And it still remains our challenge, even though we've recovered a little bit from our staffing issues. We still have a long ways to go to get back to where we were in 2009. But nonetheless, we've been able to keep our crime rates flat here in San Benito County, which I think is miraculous using a skeleton crew. Many times we only have 2 badges and 2 guns out there serving this community. In fact, I'd like to credit this community for their tenacity in guarding themselves, a job that we wish we could do better if we had more staffing, but it hasn't been possible for us. This is a very beautiful community, and I think we're very fortunate to have the low level of crime that we have, despite our plummeting staffing issues. Obviously, if we're moving forward together, we're moving forward together with the intent to increase the resources that are going to the sheriff's office so that we can provide the contemporary services that the sheriff's offices do in our neighboring counties and that law enforcement does across our nation. It's been very difficult at this time, but I'm glad and encouraged, quite honestly, to hear the many other speakers tonight and our future leaders who intend to funnel more money our direction.
Thanks, Darren. And then in a wrap-up closing statement for you.
It's been my greatest honor to serve in this capacity. San Benito County is 144 years old, and they've only ever elected 15 people to be their sheriff in 144 years. Election opportunities like this give you the opportunity to use your discretion and your discernment to evaluate candidates, to examine their character, their motives, their qualifications, their experiences. And I would encourage you to do that with me as well, and do that with my opponent. Although he wasn't here tonight, I'm sure he would like you to take a look at his qualifications and his experience as well. This is an opportunity for you to make choices. Your future has an impact, or your future will be impacted by these choices. My website is Thompson for Sheriff 2018. There's an extensive list of my skills, qualifications, experiences, and accomplishments, and I would hope that you would visit my website and examine those closely. I would also invite you to speak with me, have a meeting with me, and allow me to share my history and my significant story with you that explains why I'm a uniquely qualified individual to continue to serve as your sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren.
We would like to call up our candidates for treasurer tax collectors. Each candidate will have 30 seconds for their opening statement. And we will start with Jaime de la Cruz.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank BenitoLink and the Farm Bureau for hosting tonight's candidate. Hi, my name is Jaime de la Cruz, and I'm running for County Treasurer for the County of San Benito. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm currently a controller for a local company for over 20 years of accounting, finance, investment, cash flow projections, and HR and management staff. Also have over 16 years in public services as a county supervisor. I have a degree in finance and accounting from San Jose State, and humbly ask for your support.
Thank you, Jaime. Melinda Casillas?
Yes, I'd also like to thank BenitoLink and the Farm Bureau for tonight's forum. I'm Melinda Casillas. I've chosen to run for the candidate. I've chosen to be a candidate for that Office of the Treasurer, Tax Collector, and Public Administration based upon my education, my experience in both the public sector and the private sector. And I know, and working with the difference, I can communicate with both of these worlds. I have built a strong reputation for integrity and trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. Moving forward, each candidate will have the same question, and bear with me, it's a long question, and each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer a question. As a supervisor who adopts and approves the county budget, and as a budget officer who complies and monitors the budget, how do you explain the misplacement of more than $1 million in the school district funds, and what steps will you take to find out who is responsible and to ensure it does not happen again, and that all county books are always kept up to date and accurate? Melinda?
Okay, so as the budget officer, we work with the county treasurer and the county auditor to ensure that everything that happens in the county is accurately posted. The misplacement of $1 million, I believe, is, we used to have a reconciliation between the treasurer and the auditor, and I was responsible for that reconciliation, and we balanced each fund. And I believe that as we've transferred from different accounting systems, that we've lost that reconciliation. And so as the treasurer, I would work to bring that reconciliation back into the county so that we can make sure that all the deposits were accurately reported.
Thank you, Melinda. Jaime?
Sure, thank you. That is a very interesting question. It's one of the reasons why it's very important that we communicate with school districts, special districts, the city of Hollister, any other government agency that has a relationship with the county. As a county treasurer, one of the main responsibilities is to ensure of the cash. You're basically the cash. You're basically in charge of the cash and making sure that it's balanced. And for another agency to match the balances that you have, it's communication. It's about talking to them, going to their meetings, having presentations and educating the public and the elected officials on what we do as the tax collectors department, as the treasurer. And it will be a two-way communication. It is, we're still in the process of trying to figure out what's going on. We have a slight idea what it is. It's more of a timing issue, more of a submitting reports to the special districts and the county doing its job, but it's now, and besides the elected officials' responsibilities, more at the department level. But before those kind of activities occur, it is important that we reach out to the public. We, or I, as a tax treasurer, is to make sure that we reach out to the school districts, to the special districts, to the county and the city, and making sure that we're on the same page in terms of balances on any given day. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaime. So moving forward to question 2 for each candidate, same question. Starting with you, Jaime, why do you think you are the best choice for treasurer tax collector?
Absolutely. As a controller for a local company for over 15 years and serving as a county supervisor for 4 terms, I bring both the public and the private experience to the table. One of the responsibilities is to make sure that the cash is balanced. That's the number one responsibility. With my experience as a controller, I have managed, I have trained staff, I have experience in accounting, finance, investment, cash flow projections. Well, those type of experiences I can bring to this position. As a current county supervisor, I know what the regulations, the policies, government, state, federal regulations are to ensure that we comply. And the most important thing is that you, the public, are my boss. And I'm gonna make sure that I continue to serve you to the best of my ability and to make sure that customer service is being provided to the public and to all the public agencies that we have to interact with. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaime. Moving
Okay.
forward,
Okay, why am I the best choice for treasurer tax collector? I have 20 years experience actually doing the work in San Benito County. In the treasurer's office, I've worked with the treasurer's office and the tax collector's office for those 20 years. I was the assistant auditor for 7 years, and I am now currently the budget officer for 5 years. I have a detail experience in those departments, and I also have a high-level overview of those departments. I've been in the banking industry. I understand cash flow, budgeting, cash management, cash handling. And I've also built a very strong reputation in this community for trust and integrity, and I think those are very important assets to have as a treasurer tax collector.
thank you, Melinda. Moving forward to question number 3. These are individual questions for each candidate.
Okay.
First, to you, Melinda. With your background in budgeting and accounting, what prepares you for investing, billing and collecting, property taxes, managing property, and staff supervision?
So, as I mentioned before, I have a lot of experience in the banking industry and also in various private industry here in the county with accounts receivable. And I've actually worked in the treasurer's tax collector's office, especially in the tax collector's office. I helped them a couple of first installment, second installment payments, collections. I've worked with the property tax system, the software system. I've actually posted payments. I understand a lot about the treasurer's office and the tax collector's office from having worked closely with them in the last 20 years. I've managed a staff anywhere between 2 and 15 people. In the auditor's office, we were in charge of HR, payroll, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and I've also had that experience in other private industry that I've worked in. And I have public industry experience. And to match those two and communicate effectively between the private sector and the public sector is something that I feel I have a lot of experience in.
Thank you, Melinda. This question goes to you, Jaime. County supervisor is a 4-year term. Vacating your position will require an appointment to the seat. How would you better serve as a treasurer than a supervisor?
Sure. Let me try to answer the first part of the question. When I win this position, the governor will make the appointment to my remaining 2.5 years term, and it will be, of course, the recommendation from the board of supervisors and the public. I feel that bringing the accounting experience from the private business as a local controller for over 16 years, and providing and working as a county supervisor, 4-term supervisor, and also served on the Galvin College Board of Trustees 1 term, and on the San Benito County Board of Directors for the Water District 1 term, and also been 3 years as president and CEO of San Benito Health Foundation. I have known what it's like to work in the government section and providing services to the public in conjunction with being a controller for a local company. There are times when we need to make sure we meet payroll. And the rank and file of the employees of our company their main interest is making sure they have a paycheck. My responsibility is to make sure that the company is going forward, to make sure that we're balanced, make sure there's enough revenues to meet expenditures. And with that experience as a private sector and as a controller, and knowing what it's like to make sure payroll's met week by week, and providing that public sector as a county supervisor, well, those two positions, I know I am the best fit being treasurer.
Thank you, Jaime. Moving forward, each candidate will have 1 minute closing statement, starting with you, Jaime.
Sure, thank you. Again, my name is Jaime de la Cruz, and I'm running for county treasurer for San Benito County. I'm currently a controller for a local company with over 20 years of accounting, finance, investment, cash flow projections, HR, and managing staff. I have over 16 years of public services. I have a bachelor's degree in finance and accounting from San Jose State. I have an associate degree from Gavilan College, and I'm also a Baylor graduate. I'm a 4-term county supervisor. I serve 1 term of the Gavilan College Board of Trustees and 1 term of San Benito County Water Board Directors. If elected, I will continue to do the great job Mary Lou has done for this community for over 20 years. I will make sure that your dollars are invested at its highest possible return with minimum return. I will work closer with the state, county, and city officials on building better relationships, and I will have town hall meetings throughout the county on educating the public where your tax dollars go. I humbly ask for your vote on June 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaime.
Okay. So my advantage in this race is that I have both private industry financial experience and public sector governmental experience. I understand the vast differences between the two of those two worlds, and I can communicate very well between those two different worlds. I do not have a political background. I am a person who, along with my staff, gets the job done. This is an elected position, and in order to be elected, you have to campaign and be elected to the position. But once you become elected to the position, you have a big responsibility of managing and protecting, safeguarding, and collecting the county's biggest asset, which is its cash. I have built a reputation based upon, okay.
Thank you, Melinda. Thank you both, Jaime de la Cruz and Melinda Casillas.
All right, at this time, I'd like to have the candidates for Superior Court Judge number 2 come up. All right, at this point, I'd like to start with the opening statements from each candidate. You have 30 seconds, and we'll start with Frances Henderson.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Frances Henderson. I've worked for the Family Court Services Division of the Superior Court for the last 18 years. I've been a lawyer for 30. I come with a background of general civil, family, juvenile, and probate law. Mostly, I'm very excited about the opportunity to represent the people of San Benito County. I've worked with families for 18 years. I've met families from all of our communities, and I love our communities. We are a wonderful place to live. They're a wonderful group of people, and I want to be your judge. Thank you.
Thank you, Frances. The next candidate will be Robert Foley.
My name is Judge Robert M. Foley. My opening statement is very different tonight than it would have been before Tuesday. Bedrock principle. I strongly believe that judicial vacancies in San Benito County should be filled by election and not by appointment. But voters of this county are surely as capable of evaluating and electing a judicial officer as any governor. On Tuesday, I received some disturbing news that puts in serious doubt my ability, if elected, to serve the entire 6-year term. If I fail in this, the office becomes vacant and will be filled by a gubernatorial appointment. This is an outcome I cannot accept. I've been a Superior Court judge for over 30 years. I know what to do, and by most accounts, I do it well.
Thank you, Robert. Sorry. Next candidate, Gregory LaForge.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank the Farm Bureau and BenitoLink for giving us the opportunity to be here tonight. My name is Greg LaForge. I've been an attorney for over 29 years. I started my career at the DA's office. I worked my way up to Chief Deputy DA. I've handled some of the most high-profile, prolific homicide, rape, robbery, 3 strikes cases in this county. I'm now a criminal defense attorney, for which I've been for 17 years. And I do have experience in civil law. I've done adoption, divorce, contempt, guardianship, dependencies, personal injury, and general unlimited civil cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Gregory. At this time, we'll start with first round of questions. If elected, what are your goals for the office? And we will start with Francis Anderson.
If I'm elected to Superior Court Judge, the most important goal that I have for the office is to continue the tradition of protecting families, individual rights, the Constitution, and seeing that an equitable result is reached following the evidence. My specialty is family law, so I have focused for the last 18 years on what's in the best interest of the children, whether they come to the court through family, juvenile, probate, or dependency or delinquency. So my goals that I've outlined in my own aspiration to date have been to keep the family law program strong, to keep access to the courts available to every individual. As the family law facilitator, I got to ride the crest of this new wave of opening the courts so that people who aren't represented by attorneys can have access to the court. This is important to me, and I want to make sure that on the state level we continue to make sure that funding comes through for self-help and for family law facilitators' offices. When I was the Family Court Services Director in 2006 and 2007, I had the opportunity to be elected as the president of the Family Court Services Directors Association, which are mental health officials throughout the state. I got to work on the state level with incredibly interesting and talented people, showing us how we can work with the legislature to affect better rules for the courts, for the families in our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Gregory?
Yes, thank you. Being in court every day in this county, I think it's important to streamline the system in both civil and criminal courts, and that's something that I would strive to go for. I would also fairness to all litigants that come before me. Honesty, integrity, I think that's all important for all of the candidates and for all of the litigants that are going to appear before you. And those are just a few of the things I would do. I wouldn't change much, but I would streamline the system, balance the court calendars a little better, I think, after seeing it for as long as I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Gregory. Robert?
Yes, I would like to continue my reputation as being effective, efficient, and fair.
Thank you. So we will move on to question 2. Same question for all 3 candidates. What problems do you see the San Benito County Superior Court having, and what are your plans to address them? And we will start with Francis.
Well, the biggest problem is budget. Having worked for the court for 18 years, we've gone through a transition with state funding that's problematic at best. They've implemented a new funding system on the state level, which has affected different courts in different manners. In the old days, we had our own separate budget for San Benito County, and we were very frugal in how we managed that. And unfortunately, state law changed the situation a few years ago so that that budget was swept into a statewide coffer. We now have issues where the funding system is based on a new allocation, which is difficult to understand and difficult to interpret. Luckily, in San Benito County, we have a strong administration at our court. Our court executive officer, Gil Solorio, is very adept at these issues and also has had state involvement with putting San Benito County in as good a position as we can be financially. The challenge, that's the biggest challenge. Other challenges are, as Mr. LaForge pointed out, the calendar could be streamlined. There are, people have to wait too long sometimes to appear in certain cases, the judges have to work pretty hard on our criminal calendars. It can be a little bit unmanageable. I would work with the other Superior Court judge, Judge Sanders, in the hopes that together we might be able to address each of these issues and work closely with the administrative office too. Thank you.
Thanks, Francis. Gregory?
Yeah, I see the major problem in this county is just the bursting calendars, both of them. I mean, it's just, you're seeing it with all the houses going up. Guess what? There's a lot of crime, a lot of civils, a lot of divorces. The calendars we're only a 2-judge county. According to state regulations, we should be at least a 3-judge, 3.5-judge county. Now, we do have a woman that does do the child support calendar. And so that helps that particular calendar. But Judge Sanders and Tobias are doing the best they can, and we need more judges. That's what I see as the major problem in this county. Thank you.
All right, yeah. Thank you, Greg. Robert?
I could not agree more with Mr. LaForge. But here's what's going to happen. We see all these houses are going up. The population is going to increase dramatically. But San Benito County is sort of in what I call the backwater. As the legislature creates new judicial positions, they're not going to be here. They're going to LA County, they're going to San Bernardino County, they're going to Riverside. So we're going to have to make do with what we have. 2 judges. Those judges are going to have to work very, very hard. They're going to have to collaborate with one another in an attempt to streamline the calendars and get the maximum efficiency out of each of the calendars.
Thank you. Last question. Superior Court Judge number 2 historically hears cases related to civil matters. How has your background prepared you to oversee civil disputes?
Well,
And we'll start with you, Gregory.
Yes, thank you. As I stated, my experience in civil law, I've done divorce, contempt, adoption, guardianships, dependencies, personal injury, unlimited civil cases, albeit most of my background is in criminal law, being on both sides of the table as a DA or a defense attorney. However, I have pretty much run the gamut as well in civil court, and I'm prepared to take those responsibilities on. I've talked to Judge Sanders briefly about some issues that if I get elected, how it would work with criminal versus civil. Obviously, I would have what's called a conflict of interest in criminal court for at least the first couple years. But then it can switch. So it's primarily, right now, civil. Yes, that's true. But that can change. Judges go on vacation. Bring in a visiting judge. They might only want to do civil. So then you, me, or any of the candidates that win would go to the criminal and do that as well. So it would be civil at the beginning, but it wouldn't end up being civil. And it's a 6-year term, so anything can happen in those 6 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Gregory. Next candidate, Francis?
I have,
Oh, these are individual questions. Sorry.
thank you.
I wasn't able
No, this one's for you.
I wasn't able to comment on that last general question.
Oh, I think it was a personal question. Was the last question directed only at?
The last question for Greg was just directed towards Gregory.
Okay.
The next question will be for Francis. You say your experience helps you understand the needs of families and citizens of San Benito County. Explain why that is an important quality for a judge.
Sure. I think people often forget what an important part of the court family law is. Family law cuts across all socioeconomic borders, all class borders, all race borders. People come to court in family court because they're having problems at home. They can't get along with their spouse. They can't get along with the person they raised a child with. They have to pay child support. They may be bankers, lawyers. They may be agricultural workers. They may have very little money. They may have a lot of money. we don't know when family law is going to strike and you're going to show up in family court. I think that a judge needs to appreciate the experience that these people are going through and have a heart and a mind that focuses on the fact that they're in the most dysfunctional stage of their life. And as the bench officer making decisions about those people, you have to continue to hold that respect and care for their position, their problems, what's best for their family, and most of all, what's best for their children. There's no one there except the judge to decide what's best for these children. The parents can't see the forest through the trees frequently. Of course, they think they're acting in their child's best interest because they can't see that it could be otherwise. I think that the experience I spoke about earlier, working on the state level with the California Directors Association, was invaluable in teaching me what these families need and what we need for children in San Benito County. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. For you, Robert, why would you come out of retirement for this position?
Because I want to serve the people of San Benito County. They're my friends and neighbors. Right now, I'm assigned permanently in San Francisco. Last year, I did 5 long cause homicide cases. This year, they put me in charge of the domestic violence calendar. But I don't live in San Francisco. I should be serving the people of San Benito County, not the people of San Francisco County. And I do have this drive to serve. I've been doing it for over 30 years. I love the job, and I love serving the people. And one thing I found in San Benito County, we're smaller. So individuals can get to actually know the judges that serve them. You won't find that in San Francisco. You won't find that in Los Angeles for sure. I've heard it said in Los Angeles that if you're a judge there for 30 years, there's a good possibility you will never meet all of your colleagues.
Thank you very much, Robert. And with that, we'll start the closing statements. 1 minute. We'll start with you, Robert.
Okay, I just wanted to finish off where I started. On Tuesday, I received some disturbing information that puts in serious doubt my ability, if elected, to serve the entire 6-year term. If I fail in this, the office becomes vacant and will be filled by gubernatorial appointment. This is an outcome I cannot accept. I've been a Superior Court judge for over 30 years. I know what to do, and by both accounts, I do well. My inability, however, to guarantee I am able to serve out the full term of office leads me to one conclusion only. I must withdraw from this elective contest. It's a difficult choice, but I'm convinced it is a correct choice. There are 3 other candidates who seek election to this office. Whoever prevails, I wish them all success and Godspeed.
Thank you, Robert. Gregory.
Okay, for my closing, I think endorsements are important, and my endorsements, I've been endorsed by the San Benito County Deputy Sheriff's Association. I've been endorsed by the Hollister Firefighters Union, and my biggest endorsement is from the California Statewide Law Enforcement Association out of Sacramento, which represents over 7,000 peace officers in the state that endorse me for my candidacy for judge. Also, I've been appointed by the Hollister City Council about 9-10 years ago to be an administrative hearing officer. I think that's important because that was something to do with code enforcement and things of that nature. Also, I think it's important to know I'm uniquely qualified in this because I'm the only candidate that not only lives in this county, but works in this county as well. Thank you. And I appreciate your vote. And when you go to the polls, it'd be an honor to have each and every one of you vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Gregory. Francis?
All right, I had to go first, I get to go last. I guess that's a trade-off. So, let me tell you a little bit more about myself. I was born in San Jose, and I grew up in Southern California, attended high school in San Marino. I went to school at UC Santa Cruz, and then I moved to San Francisco to go to law school. In fact, Mr. LaForge and I just discovered we went to the same law school and graduated the same year. So I then went to work in San Jose as a young lawyer in a general civil firm where I had civil, probate, and criminal practice. After working in San Jose for a few years, I worked for the city of Santa Cruz, the firm Atchison and Anderson that did municipal defense, so I had civil experience at that time. I then had my own law practice in Watsonville for about 10 years, doing, again, general civil, and I eventually settled on family law. Now, I've been at the courthouse for 18 years, and I love my job. The only thing I can think I would love more would be being judge of the Superior Court. And I thank you, and it would be an honor if you would vote for me as the first woman elected in San Benito County to the Superior Court. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, I'd like to call our candidates for State Senate Office, District 12, Ana Caballero and Rob Poitras. Okay, so each candidate will have an opening statement, 30 seconds, starting with Ana Caballero.
Thank you. Well, first, let me thank you all for being here tonight, and also the Farm Bureau and BenitoLink for sponsoring this forum. It's always a pleasure to be here. I'm a fighter for rural California, and you all know me. I've had a small business here for 25 years. I've been an elected official, member of Governor Brown's cabinet, and now as your assembly member again. And I'd appreciate your support as senator.
Thank you, Ana. Moving forward to Rob.
Very good. Thank you so much. It's great being here this evening. I'm a third-generation walnut and almond farmer from Madera. My brother and I own a small business. I'm a father, husband, and grandfather. I served 6 years as mayor of Madera. I'm in my second year serving on the Madera County Board of Supervisors. I helped co-found a charter school. I'm an active member of the Farm Bureau. I have a passion for public service, and that's why I'm running for State Senate District 12.
Thank you, Rob. Moving forward to question number 1. Starting with you, Rob. How do you ensure that San Benito County will receive equal representation in relation to larger and richer counties represented in District 12?
Great question. I come from a county that's much like San Benito. Madera County is 170,000. And so we're like San Benito in terms of kind of being the small guy. And we fight hard in Sacramento and in DC in terms of getting our fair share. We're very aggressive, assertive. We present our cases well, and we make trips to Sacramento quite often. And so having that experience and having that sensitivity for smaller counties and the issues that you face, it would be a mission of mine to ensure that San Benito is properly represented.
Thank you, Rob. Same question for you, Ana.
Thank you. So I've been representing San Benito County for many years, and what I appreciate about it is that people get things done here in a bipartisan support. You don't ask, are you a Democrat, are you a Republican? They expect you to get things done if you're representing the area. And so I've been honored to have the support of all of your Board of Supervisors. We've had numerous conversations about the things that are very important in your district, in your county, and those have been, the things that I know you all are concerned about. It's the roads, making sure that we get 156 built, expanded, making sure that 25 operates better, making sure that there are resources for emergency services. I was on the ground when there was flooding here, and I'm concerned that you don't have an emergency service center. I worked real hard to make sure the court was downtown because I understand how important it is to keep a courthouse downtown in a city like Hollister. So those are the kinds of things that I learned working with your elected officials, and I want to continue to do that kind of work. Make sure that we can get the resources that you desperately need. And you talked about the courts. There is a third judge identified. We're working at trying to fill that position and getting the governor to think it's important. No question that it's a struggle to get resources for rural California, but that's what I love about the job. Is it's really about getting up and making sure that you're doing the job and trying to get resources down here, and I want to continue doing that.
Thank you, Anna. Moving to question 2 for both candidates, same question. Starting with you, Anna. In this partisan political environment, how do you intend to be effective at the state level?
It's a really great question. And let me just say that part of what I've done is work really hard across the aisle and working with people that look different than me. I am very active. I just came from the Almond Alliance. One of the reasons that I was there in Monterey County at their convention is because that's one of the 400 specialty crops here in our state. And so what I do is learn, I do tours, I talk to people, and I try to help them solve the problems that they're facing. And so I'm working on a number of issues. 30 seconds doesn't give me much time to tell you exactly what I'm working on. But I think if you ask people, they'll say that I'm a team builder, that I'm the kind of person that works across party lines, trying to make sure that I can represent everybody in the county, not just Democrats and not just people that look like me.
Thank you, Anna. Same question for you, Rob.
Very good. One of the first things you need to do is to build relationships with others. As everybody in the room knows, when you build a relationship, create a friendship, it really breaks down barriers. The second thing is you need to educate. So as much as I would like to see people from more of the urban areas come out to the rural areas, places like San Benito County, to see what the issues are, I need to go there also. I need to understand what their issues are. That's how you gain respect, by showing that you care where they're coming from so that they can care where you're coming from. And then show that sit them down in front of you. Show them these are people just like their next door neighbors. They're not strangers. They're not people from some other place. They're real people. And that takes down additional barriers. And I think in those ways you can develop ways to get incremental changes and get that attention that we really need in places like San Benito County.
Thank you, Rob. Moving to our final question. Same question for both candidates. Starting with you, Rob. Less than 2% of the population in agriculture today, but feeds a growing population. What can you do to help translate our needs and concerns to the larger population?
Great, thank you. I think that agriculture, and I can speak for agriculture because I'm in the business, we haven't done a very good job of communicating who we are to the rest of the state. We can sit around in our circles and say, man, we feed the world, don't they understand that? But if you go to Southern California, the Bay Area, they really don't. They really don't get it. And what they do get, though, are things that are emotional to them. And so what we need to do as agriculture is we need to go on the offensive and show people how the farms and the families of the Central Valley really provide them with what they need. It's the cleanest food supply in the entire world. And we know that people, they're all concerned about organics and eating the right thing. We need to say yes, and we supply that in the best supplies possible, in the best way possible. And that's why we need to really, and that way we can develop advocates for agriculture in the rest of the state to protect our groundwater, to increase surface water, and to roll back the regulatory environment that's really hurting our people.
Thank you, Rob. Same question for you, Anna.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm really honored this cycle to be the chair of the Assembly Committee on Agriculture, and that's given me a really unique opportunity to do some outreach that would be very difficult to do otherwise. Number one is I've been doing agricultural tours for the past 30 years, and I've seen a tremendous change in the way that agriculture is operating. And the new technology that's coming in is just tremendously important. I just recently, actually this week, did a presentation to the Democratic Caucus, because we meet as caucuses by party to go over business. And I did a presentation on the benefits of agriculture, in particular the environmental benefits of agriculture, whether it's the wildfowl that use our flyway, the migratory path, the sequestration of carbon by trees and vineyards. And so I had a unique opportunity to really use it as an educational opportunity. But more importantly, we're going to have a hearing in Sacramento on just these issues, so that people understand that there's this fantasy thought that if we get rid of agriculture, that it's going to stay in open space and it's going to be like a park or something. That's not what's going to happen. And I want people to understand the importance and the beauty and what we bring to the state economy in an agricultural region.
Thank you, Anna. Now moving forward to our 1-minute closing statements. Starting with you, Anna.
Thank you very much. Well, what this is all leading up to is that I'm running the first California Farm Bill in the history of in the recent history. I can't say forever. And one of the reasons that I'm doing this kind of work is because it's really important that we do everything possible to save our agricultural region, and that we have an opportunity to talk about the things that are likely to stifle the creativity and the energy, and also that we plan for our workforce, bring technology into the field, and make sure that our young people have an opportunity to use that technology and to learn and to be able to make our area more successful. So I'm real excited about the work that I'm doing. I'm real excited about bringing some, I think, sanity to the discussion that we're having in Sacramento about the importance of rural California. And I would be honored to represent the 12th Senate District as your senator, and I please respectfully ask for your support.
Thank you, Anna. Rob?
Very good. Thank you so much. I believe I'm uniquely qualified to be your state senator. I've, with my small business experience with farming and the hardware store, I've seen what the regulatory environment has done to us in terms of with the labor laws and the employment. As a mayor and as a county supervisor, I've seen the mandates and the issues and the laws that have come down and have really stifled our ability to grow on the county level, and the takings from the local level to the state of California. I want to fix our broken water infrastructure. I want to roll back the regulations so that our businesses can prosper. I want to make sure that our government is held accountable for the taxes that they pay. I'm a problem solver. I did it on the Madera City Council. I'm doing it currently as a county supervisor, and I'll do it as your state senator. I would appreciate your support and your vote on June 5th. Thank you.
Thank you to both candidates, Rob Poitras and Ana Caballero.
I'd like to thank everybody. I'm Pat Wurz, President of the San Benito County Farm Bureau. I'd like to thank BenitoLink and the San Benito County Farm Bureau for all their efforts in organizing this candidates forum. I hope that all the questions, the answers, will make it easier for you to make your choice on June 5th. Most of all, I would like to thank all the candidates for their participation, because without their participation, we would not be able to put on this forum to help the voters make their choice on June 5th. That concludes our forum. Like I said, tonight we are going to have 2 forums in October, and I would like to have all your participation. We had a fantastic turnout tonight, and have a safe trip home, and God bless. Thank you.